1, 2, testing. Yep, working fine here. Here we go. Here we go. Let's check out our live feed. See if everything is all right. I have a few checks here. If I look at the HD signal from the camera, something is weird. Here we go. Okay. Didn't see any images for a few seconds. Was wondering if everything was all right. So, okay. Hopefully, it's okay with everybody. Everybody having a video feed? Just checking out here. It's kind of weird on my side, so I wonder if everything's all right. Something's bizarre. Just checking it out. Okay, something's weird. So I don't know if you guys see it all right. Is it all right on your side? I seem to not be able to see the feed here. It's okay? Okay, cool. As long as it's all right for you. And doesn't have too much problems. So we are going to start our live show. So this is the Wideband show. The Wideband show is, or Wideband Hangout, is basically the hangout where we, or the live YouTube show where we talk about anything radio. So this show is about, the basement of radio at 1 kilohertz all the way to VHF, UHF, of course going through medium wave, shortwave, and upwards the gigahertz frequency ranges. So pretty cool. And thanks for letting me know that everything's all right. Because I do see a problem here, and I was wondering if it is just YouTube's feedback coming back to me that's the problem. So thanks for letting me know that everything's all right. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and we of course have these shows every Friday at 2000 hours UTC. One Friday it's the Wideband Hangout. The other Friday is the Tuning the Bands live. Last week we had a record-breaking 5-hour show. That was something. That was quite something, actually. 5 hours, and it was just amazing. I don't expect to do 5 hours today, just to let you know. And of course, today is a questions and answers, a Q&A. So I've got some questions that I've written down here that I got from emails. And so I've just put them down here and we'll answer them. Now, I've answered each of these personally to the email, but I kept them because I think it's questions that people will often ask themselves. And I thought, well, why not broadcast the answers so that anybody that might ask me the same question will have an answer to it. So Mad Radio DXer says the stream is freezing. So anybody who has freezes, let me know. Just going to check it out. So hey everybody, nice to have you on board. Hello Mute Zone. Hello Anton in Belgium. Hello Jerry, nice to have you on board. By the way, Jerry, that frequency list that you sent me is also a good one. The website, and I already knew about it, and yes, it is true that it's one of the good sites for amateur radio frequencies, by the way, and all the space stuff that you send me, always interesting to see what's happening in with the International Space Station and the different different things that happen, the different crews that go up to the International Space Station and so on. So we'll see what happens here. So hello Kuliam, Radio Shortwave says hello. Richard Cook, nice to have you on board. The Museum of War, hello. And hello, Ray Kelly. What else do we have? Hello. Did I miss anybody? Vensterbank, nice to have you on board. Stephen Mail, nice to have you here. iMapper, hello from Moscow, nice to have you on board as usual. And as I was saying just before the show started, we are expecting to have our first snowstorm probably in the night of Sunday to Monday here in Montreal. Now we're not sure how much snow exactly. We know that out of Montreal, where it's a little north of Montreal, probably they're going to expect up to a foot of snow over there. Here in Montreal, they're not sure yet because part of it will be in rain. So it's going to start Sunday afternoon with some rain. And during the night of Sunday, at some point, it's going to change into snow. And Monday, all day, we're going to have snow. So depending on where it's going to go through, we might have more rain, less snow, or more snow or less rain. So I thought since Monday is going to be a snow day, I will be taking out my Christmas tree, and I think I'm going to be making the Christmas tree on Monday, snow day. It's always fun to do it when it's like wintry conditions outside. We've been having amazing weather. You know what? If it would have been just 2 or 3 degrees warmer than now, I would have actually done this outside. Right now it's about 12 degrees, and tomorrow is supposed to be like 14, which is very warm for this time of year here in Montreal. So really is amazing. We've had a month of November that was extremely warm, but it's all going to end on Monday with our first snowstorm, and next week's supposed to be, like 0 degrees Celsius, around 32 Fahrenheit, pretty much all week. We're getting back to what is the usual end of November here in Montreal. Theo T, nice to have you on board also. Hello, and you're not really late. We're just starting up, and I'm just blabbing about all of what's happening. Enton in Belgium, nice to have you here. SG1 East Nebraska, nice to have you on board. And yeah, everybody's like, in 2 places at once. A lot of you are in the YouTube chat and the IRC chat. By the way, there's a lot of chat rooms, and I get invited to go into many chat rooms. I just want to say I'm trying to pin down the minimum amount of chat rooms, because when there's too many chat rooms, it's kind of complex. I have to go all over the place. I miss questions. Last time I had many open, I got a message from somebody who was mad because I didn't answer his question, and I just went through the list of questions, and somewhere the question was there, but I think going through too many chat rooms at the same time is not a good idea. So we're gonna keep it to the IRC chat that we already have on digital addictions, and we will also bring it to the YouTube chat, which is cool also, and I do find it fun to have the YouTube chat also. And there might be some outages, by the way, for some of you with the digital addictions chat room. There's going to be maintenance starting today, so if some of you have problems in the chat and the IRC chat of digital addictions, could be normal. There will be a few outages as they're doing some upgrades and stuff. So don't worry. Don't worry. So hey, and by the way, I'm going to mention it tomorrow mostly because tomorrow is the other channel. But hey, we're at 8,000 subscribers on the shortwave channel and 2 million views, which is pretty cool. And really want to thank everybody, because without you guys watching, there wouldn't be such a nice channel there. And even though a lot of you want, not you that are watching now, but some of you not watching, or maybe watching without without saying anything, Recently I've been receiving a lot of threats and a lot of drop dead type messages. So I want to say that I'm sorry, I'm not going to drop dead because I'm here to stay for a long time. And whether you like it or not, you'll see my face everywhere. So, you know, it's all right. It seems that the more popular you get, the more haters you get also. So I've got my usual Fin du Monde beer, by the way. And cheers, everyone. So, yep, pretty cool. And as Cool AM Radio saying, cheers, Jill, up to 3 million. Yep, of course. Why not? And I've been a little lazy on the radio channels, I gotta say. And if you guys might see that, you know, that I haven't been posting as many radio videos as I used to. And I gotta say I've been a little lazy on the radio side of the channels. So I'm gonna try to come back to the regular, you know, posting and try to post radio videos every day like I did before. I think, you know, we're going to try to increase, you know, we got a nice increase. You know, the shortwave channel in the stats of YouTube, I'm up about 35% in views from last year, which is not bad at all when you think about it. And, you know, being a niche market, shortwave radio is not, you know, your everyday type item that everybody has. So it's kind of nice to see that, you know, the people watching. Hey, Kevin O'Reilly, nice to have you on board. You know what? Some of the haters are actually people that enjoyed my show at the beginning. I've got a few of them that are, for some reason, they've decided that I, you know, with time, they started hating me. Some of them because they say that I don't take the time to answer questions, or I don't take the time to just say thank you when somebody posts something. You know, like I say with my Windows channels, I get, you know, upwards 1,000 comments a day upwards. I can't say thank you to everybody that leaves a comment. I'm just gonna, you know, have the full day just leaving comments. But some of them are people that loved my show at the beginning, and for some reason now are just haters of what I do. I got a few people that hate me since we had that little brush with that other channel there where they posted a few videos with my face on it and that I didn't like. So some of them that were on that channel suddenly started hating me. But overall, you know what? The viewership is more interesting. I have more fans than ever. I do have a few people that want me to drop dead, but you know, I don't think I'm going to drop dead soon. And basically, you know, the positive side of everything is much more interesting. You know, I have more haters, but I have a gazillion times more people that love what I do and just, you know, want me to continue. So basically, that's pretty much what's happening. And you know, it's sad because I don't think I'm, you know, negative with anyone. I don't think I'm, you know, sometimes that's something that I've seen on my Windows channel because somebody asked a question. There's this sweet little women that ask questions, and sometimes I'm passionate about something I'm going to talk about, and sometimes I don't know. I feel when I talk about it or answer something, I might look mad or something, but I'm not at all. It's just my way of being who I am. And as that nice little lady said, no, I didn't take it that you were mad. I just take it that you're passionate about what you're saying. And that's more what it is. You know, I'm not mad against anybody. I respect everybody's opinion. I mean, some people dropped out, told me why. There are a few people that really explained well why they're dropping out. It's simply, it's not their bag. It's not, you know, with time they find that, well, no, it's not exactly that type of show that I was looking for. all right, we can't. I don't watch every show that exists on the world. There are some shows that I, start watching and then I drop out because, well, for me it's boring and it's okay. Some were really nice about it. Some dropped out telling me, well, maybe you should do this or add this to your show. It'd be more interesting for me. And I take into account every proposition, everything positive, every comment, and it's okay. I'm not the master of the universe here. I think there are adjustments that we can do, of course. Have things improve things, but I also what I especially hate, and you know what, I'm just gonna vent a little of something that I've been seeing, and I'm not gonna mention any groups or anything, but there are some groups, okay, because I'm a member of many different little shortwave things, and unfortunately there are some groups where I see, I don't know, people are kind of negative about the hobby, and when somebody just posts in my face a million times, well, shortwave's dead, radio's dead. You know what? I come to a point where, what the hell are you doing on a radio forum of some sort if shortwave's dead, every radio program you hear is boring, and what are you doing? Why are you part of a radio forum or a radio show or chat room or whatever, if already without anything, all you have to say is, well, shortwave's dead, and well, there's nothing to listen to. Oh, I'm going to watch TV tonight. Well, go watch TV and stop annoying everybody with negative comments about radio's dead. I don't agree that radio's dead. I think radio's really alive. It's it's very different from what it was in the 80s. That is true. It's not dead. I'm sorry. I don't agree with it's dead at all. And you know what? Just move on to something else. Come on. I don't understand these people. And I got to say, there are a few forums and a few places that I've been where when I look at the comments, it's like, okay, I stay there for the principle that there are some really cool people that you can answer questions, and sometimes I can help with an answer to somebody, and I stay there for that reason. But after a while, it's like, well, I wouldn't be there, and I think it'd be better off. But I don't think so at the same time, because for the people that are boring and negative, I think it's fun to see that I'm still there and I can still help everybody. I think so. Mapper, if the video is a little fuzzy, it might be that it's not reaching 1080p, because here, when I look at my return from YouTube, it's crisp. It's really crisp at 1080p. So it might be that you're just not reaching 1080p. So yeah, people age gel, Jerry. It's incredible. I know. I don't know. I thought everybody loved me, but it seems no. And the last message I got was I should drop dead and I'm a drunk. That was a really nice one. And you know what? These people are lucky, because you know what? I am man enough that I will not release or talk about who they are. And you can say what you want, but when you leave a hateful message, there's no constructive message in there. If you tell me that you should do this to improve, yeah, okay. Yeah, Vaults, exactly. Haters are proof of increasing popularity. That is true. That is true. I think the more popular somebody gets, the more haters he probably has at the same time. So, basically, that's the thing. And there are people for everything, as Mute Zone is saying. And yeah, if they're, I don't know why they are. It's something I have a lot of difficulty understanding. If if you're unhappy and you don't think the hobby is going anywhere, change hobby. There's tons of other hobbies that you can do. And, I see even hurtful comments sometimes on some forums. I've seen one this week where a guy posted on, I won't tell what forum, but somebody posted, hey, I've got this receiver. And I've, bought it for X amount of dollars a few weeks ago. What do you guys think? And the first comment was, oh, this is the most horrible receiver that anybody can buy. You got a crap radio, basically. And I was like, this is mean. I mean, that guy bought a receiver. And yes, there are good receivers. Yes, there are crappy receivers. And there's average receivers. But I don't know. If I bought a receiver and somebody said, oh, you bought that crappy receiver, it's like, maybe that's not what I would like to know. There's a way to say something that is more gentle instead of, well, you got gypped, I don't know where you bought it, but that guy really, what? Shut up. I mean, shut up. So that was my ranting. I hope you guys enjoy my ranting from time to time. And I'm not mad at all today. But, it's part of... and for those that don't like it, well, yeah, I reached 2 million views and 8,000 subs. And it's going to go even more than that. So, okay, just shut up. Okay. John Young, yeah, that is true. There is something about that for sure. And John Young says, Brother Stare has rotten the brains of some shortwave listeners. One of the comments I see often is people that come back to the hobby and say, well, all I can hear is religious programs. Well, yeah, you'll hear a lot of that. And I got to say that at any point in time, 24 hours a day, if you tune your radio, yes, you'll hear some shortwave, religious shortwave broadcasters. So, you know what? Religious shortwave broadcasters are part of the bands. And I don't know. I've always wondered how... Okay, I understand for one point, okay? I've maybe you guys can help me and think what it is. I know why religious broadcasters broadcast to poor areas of the world like Africa or Asia or South America or some regions where there are more. I don't want to say poor populations, but there's a lot of, because there's poor people here in Canada and the United States too. I've always wondered if it was that good to broadcast religious programs on shortwave. I am, here I was born as a Catholic Christian. And that's only because the school where I went and how things work here, I was brought up like that. But I am not a religious guy, and I don't know. I was wondering, in 35 years of listening to shortwave, religious broadcasters, yeah, they, a lot of them shoved me Jesus in the face, and but it didn't change my opinion or bring me closer to God. Okay, I stayed pretty much the same guy. I always wondered how these religious broadcasters, fare and how many people are actually listening in on shortwave. When I listen to WWN, that Catholic station on 15610, it's always packing a great signal. The funny thing is they do have some interesting programs and sometimes some interesting insights, even for a non-religious guy, okay? And I'm surprised that sometimes listening in for half an hour because they're talking about a subject and I'm like, it's interesting. But when I listen to their call-ins, it's always people that are calling in from religious from AM or FM relays. I never hear somebody say, "Hey, I'm listening to I'm listening to your station on shortwave." So it's kind of a mystery to me. I'm wondering how many people are actually really listening in on shortwave. So I don't know. Vive Gilles and Trump. I don't know. That phrase sounds weird. Gilles and Trump at the same time. Hey, I want to be Prime Minister of Canada. I'm going to bring back Radio Canada International. So if you guys want to vote for me, I'm bringing back Radio Canada International, and we're going to increase. I'm going to give. You know what? I'll not only bring back Radio Canada International. I'm going to actually give money and help stations that want to start shortwave broadcasting. And I think that's going to be cool. So if you want me as a Prime Minister of Canada, of course, my first order of business with Donald Trump would be that you have to increase Voice of America funding so that it comes back. And the first order of meeting would be with the UK Prime Minister that we have to have BBC back to North America. Things like that. So I think I would be a good president for shortwave, at least, or prime minister. Yeah, Vaults, that is true. Depending on location, it is true that for some people, broadcasting on shortwave can seem dead. Because, yes, the noise level is incredible in some places. And there are some broadcasts that are unfortunately strong, but in the noise because of too much noise. That is true. That is true. That is true. So some people are reporting freezing. Some people are reporting no issues. I don't know. Maybe it's just YouTube. So I don't know. Oh man. So what else do we have here? Hey, Neil Toombs, nice to have you on board. I'm going to try something, guys. I'm going to stop the stream for 10 seconds, and I'm going to restart the stream. So I'm stopping the and I'm back with the stream now. So I don't know if anybody's noticed something, but hey, I've stopped and started the stream again. So if there's some freezes, but you know what? If there are some freezes, it could be something else. It could be anything else than me also. Here I could see that on my upload, I do have a 4 megabits upload, and I do have a green light, which means normally that the connection is full quality. So it could be YouTube, unfortunately, if it does. So I've stopped and started again. If anybody has, well, I don't know. YouTube doesn't use Flash, by the way. YouTube forces your browser to use HTML5. So no, Cool AM. I don't think that's the thing. Lower the bit rate, because I do have. I do have all the bandwidth to go upwards. So, and I see here it seems okay. So, I'm gonna leave it as it is. So, we'll see. I just stopped and started last time when some of you were seeing freezes. It fixed everything. It seemed that maybe there was some kind of over buffering or something. So you guys will see what happens. Hey, I'm Rad88. Nice to have you on board. You'll see if. Yeah, it's possible because you guys are buffering. So if I stop for 10 seconds. So if your buffering is more than 10 seconds, you guys have just seen it go through. So we'll see here. I've restarted, and we'll see if it's better or not. It could be, could be a YouTube thing, because I don't see. And you know what? It's for the comment on the Flash issue. YouTube uses HTML5 by default on every browser. It doesn't require Flash anymore. So I think it's a YouTube issue. I think YouTube is having some problems. Remember, guys, this is beta. When I see it here, it says that it's YouTube Live is beta software. It's not officially finished, apparently. So I don't know when it's going to get out of beta, but it's weird. So iMapper says even on 144p, it's got freezing. So I think it's a YouTube issue, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. I have no control about that. No control. Hodenwald Cyclist, nice to have you on board in Germany. What else do we have? So Neil Toombs, hello. DX Place, nice to see you here. Tom Styles, Hamrad88. What do we have? Mad Radio DXer, which is Mute Zone. What else do we have? So hello, everybody. Nice to have everybody here. Kevin O'Reilly says some of the old religious broadcasters have good program. DX Party Line and CJB. Yeah, but that was different. You know, HTJB was that religious broadcaster that is not shove it in your face religion. When I look at Brother Stare or a lot of the American broadcasters, unfortunately, have I shove in your face the religion, and I don't like that. HTJB did it in a way that was cool. You know, it was. You knew it was a Christian station. You knew that their ultimate goal was to, talk about God, but they had interesting programs with little bits here and there of, do you know Jesus? Do you know God? And you know what? That is okay by my book. That is really okay by my book, I got to say. So basically, there are different types. So Mapper says now it's better. So hopefully it's getting better after I've restarted. Where's my clock so we could see the delay? The clock is a little far away. I'm going to check out if I can put the clock here for 2 seconds, guys. Okay, here's the clock. I should remember to put it in the field of view when I actually do these shows. So here's the clock. For those that want to see what's the let's just try to put it in a way that it won't fall down. So here we go. This is the clock. So you guys can see what time it is and how much delay you've got. Hello, Matteo Castro. Nice to have you on board. And I would bet that it's YouTube for the freezing. So sorry, guys. I got nothing I can do about that. Okay. So what else do we have? Jerry. I did not watch the Soyuz launch yesterday because I was not at home. But thanks for sending me the emails, by the way, because I love watching these things. It's always cool, when there's a launch, when they arrive at the International Space Station and everything. It's always really, really cool. So that's nice. That's really, really nice about that. So. 12 seconds delay, Neil Toombs says. Pretty cool. So clock is here. So I got some questions today, and of course, if anybody has any questions, you can add to the questions and answers as we go on the show. And I think these might be interesting for a lot of people. Also, tomorrow we have a shortwave show, so we switch Saturdays. Tomorrow is a shortwave show at 2000 hours Universal Time. And so I hope you guys can join in tomorrow in the fun. And my list of frequencies, because I do have a lot of people always asking me, is almost ready. The reason it's taking time is because we've changed to the B16. I want to make sure that the frequencies that I'm mentioning in my frequency list are accurate with the new schedules and times, because some stations shifted 1 hour. because of the time change. Some station changed the time that they broadcast. So instead of broadcasting for 3 hours, 4 hours, they do it in 2 hours, 3 hours, and so on. Plus, some of the frequencies for North America have changed. And because my list of frequencies is a list of stations I have heard and not a list of stations that are supposed to be heard, of course, I got to tune in and listen to the broadcasts to make sure that it can be it can be received where you are, because the list that I am sending out, as I say it all the time, the list that I'm sending out is really basically the frequencies that I have heard on my radio. So it means you've got chances to hear it in North America. And yes, for those that are waiting for a Europe list, I do want to say that I will eventually add Europe to the list of frequencies. But I gotta have some time. Unfortunately, I cannot listen to shortwave 24 hours a day. Unfortunately. Yeah, Christmas is really, really soon. You know what? I was thinking about, last week I had my family over, and the reason we did a family gathering last week, was because my sister will not be able to come to Montreal at Christmas time. For a long time, for many years, a Christmas Eve party was here at my home. And we had everybody. I had my sister, my brother. I had friends over. Everybody was here. And what happened is my sister eventually, it's kind of complicated a little bit to come here sometimes in the winter. Plus the fact that she has children, and her children want to have a party on the 24th, or Christmas Eve. So basically, what happened is we kind of did a almost Christmas time supper, and I actually did that because last week when she came in, I actually did some of the food that I usually cook only on Christmas, and so it looked like Christmas, and I made donuts and everything, so it really felt like it was almost Christmas, and so that we did that last week. But the thing is, I was, on Sunday, everybody was telling me, hey, you should start making your Christmas tree, and we're going to help you make the Christmas tree. But when Sunday arrived, first I was tired because I went to bed at like 6 in the morning, because me and my sister, we talked all night. And also, it was like 14 degrees outside with the sunshine. It just felt like it's not Christmas time, like today. And so I was like, well, I don't feel like doing the Christmas tree today. So my brother came back the next day on Sunday, and he said, well, oh, you're not making the Christmas tree? It's like, well, I don't feel like making the Christmas tree. It doesn't feel like it. If it would be cold and snowy, yeah, sure. But it didn't feel like it. So I waited, and now because we're going to have apparently a snowstorm maybe Monday, well, I'm going to make the Christmas tree on Monday. I think it's going to be okay. And yep, Black Friday next week with Cyber Monday following. And I think it's Thursday that you guys are in the US have Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all of our US viewers. That's coming this Thursday. Really, really cool. So really, Mateo Castro says, love that clock. I want one. Yeah, I love it. I bought it because I just love this thing. I saw it at Radio Shack. The first time I saw that it was a Radio Shack, I believe. And then they changed to the Source here. And basically, I wanted this, but at first it was way too expensive. They would sell this like $60. I was like, I'm not paying $60 for that. And one day I got to the source, and it was on sale at $24.99. So I thought, okay, $24.99, I want to have it. It's, it's nice because it's big and it has kind of a look to it. And really love the fact that it has big numbers. I always wanted to have a clock with big numbers. So this clock I love. And it's a nice clock for the radio stuff because since the numbers are big, it's easy to see when I do my live shows on the camera and everything. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So really, really, really nice. By the way, Cool AM Radio, I did see what you told me about my mail. I will check my mail, and thanks for everything. So what time is it in the East? Here it's 3:40 p.m. So it's 3:40 p.m. I just have to take 5 hours off the clock. 3:40 p.m. Eastern time here. So it's mid-afternoon, just mid to late afternoon now. Sun is going to set in about 35 minutes. And pretty nice. So delay has gone down for most people. So except for a few that has delays. You know, when the delay grows, I think when you see that the delay with the clock starts growing at 20, 30, 40 seconds, I think that's network issues. They have problems and the buffering gets worse. And I like, some people are saying in the chat room that they love falling asleep listening to shortwave. TOT says he was doing it as a kid and now can't sleep if you don't hear the noise, static in any stations. I like that. I have my I got my DX398, my Radio Shack DX398 in the bedroom with earbuds, and from time to time I'll tune the radio around. I'll tune the radio, and I do like that. Muson says Black Friday, people becoming violent for supposed bargains. Yep, that is pretty much it. I'd like to see a shortwave Black Friday. So like somebody killing you for an ICOM receiver. That would be something. Seeing in the news, man goes crazy and kills everybody for an ICOM ICR 8600 on sale. Okay. Yeah, those riots are crazy. I mean, every year we always have the, that idiot somewhere that killed everybody or, did something. And of course, the news, that's what they want to see. So they're always showing us that crazy person. Just incredible. So, the Macy's parade, is that always on, I know about the Macy's parade, but is that always on Thanksgiving? That must be something nice to see. I'd like to see that one day. I'd like to see that one day. So, so drop-offs has stopped. So maybe doing a little stop and start is good. Hey, Steve B, Steve Australia, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. So, cool, Tom, Hamrad88, Tom Styles says dropouts have stopped. Yeah, something probably happening on YouTube. Odenwald Cyclist says I have kind of the same clock, same size, but different design. Cool part is I can set normal time or UTC as I want. Yeah, that's cool. This one has only one clock, so I set it at, this is my main universal time clock. And by the way, one of the things that I want to mention, because I see this all the time, a lot of people have, always say what's UTC versus a local time. And one of the things I gotta say, clocks are so inexpensive today. I mean, you can go to a dollar store and get a clock for like $1 or $2. There's no reason for you to not have a clock that is set to universal time always. It's it's, it's something that is essential for shortwave. And I get all these people that say, well, look at the clock and do this and subtract hey, please, can you make it simple? People want to know what UTC is. You can type what is UTC in Google, and it's going to give you the actual UTC or universal time right there. You don't have to, go by a million gazillion different things. And but I think having a UTC clock is something that is essential. So it's an essential part of any radio listening. And often what I've said also is when you have a radio that has clocks on it. So if you have any type of portable radio that has a display and has clocks, so the time is displayed, it's a shortwave radio. Don't put the clock to local time. Put your shortwave radio's clock to UTC, because you'll be listening to shortwave, which only works in universal time. So I think that I think that's the best thing to do. Put the universal time on any clocks on your radios. I think that's the best thing that you can do. Some have, some use apps, like Jerry says he uses a UTC app widget on the home screen on his phone and tablet. That's something you can do. Jerry says, I would trample a few people to get an R8600 at 50% off. I gotta say, in R8600 at 50% off, maybe I'd be the crazy guy that you see in the news finally. Oh man, I can tell you, there's just so crazy things that people do for stupid reasons, Often people see, oh wow, it's a HD TV for $199. Yeah, but it's a cheap type HD TV that's always $199. Look on the internet. I rarely have seen real sales in there. I can tell you that. And Jerry says, knowing UTC time is half the battle. Yep. And it gets confusing with UTC. What's confusing with UTC is when we have our daylight savings times versus regular time. We change 1 hour, it gets, kind of messy. I always have my UTC in my head. I rarely look at the clock to know what UTC time, because after 35 years of shortwave listening, it's kind of normal for me. But I gotta say, there's always a little, oh yeah, we just changed time. It's 5 hours now. It's not 4. So, at night, I'm going to, for a few days to a few weeks, sometimes, I'll it's going to be like 7 p.m. local here. And I'm going to like, oh yeah, it's 0-100 UTC. It's not 2300 hours like in the summer. We changed time. So it does give a little confusing moment for UTC time. And I've seen that a lot. People get confused. It's like, okay, we changed time. Why does it change UTC? No, you don't understand. UTC stays the same all the time. It's just that we changed 1 hour reference towards UTC. So UTC is different to you, but it's the same. It gets really confusing. Maybe we should all, everybody around the world should just work in UTC. If everybody would have learned that, well, okay, the sun sets at 21:30 UTC and rises at 1100 UTC. Why not? We would get used to the fact that it's always the same time period for everybody. I don't know. We should have all got UTC, basically. So, Modern Wall Cyclist says, for me, it's easy. Local time is UTC plus 1 hour. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Or when you're exactly, like in the wintertime, UK is directly UTC. That's kind of easy to know when it's UTC. It's your local time. That's funny here. So Richard Cook says 11 a.m. That's a bit late here. So it's like everybody would But what I mean, Richard, is that everybody would have its own set of sunrise and sunset UTC time, depending on the country where you are, and you wouldn't wonder when a broadcast is a broadcast because everybody would live in UTC time, and I don't know, they should call it world time, not UTC, because it's universal time. I can bet you that some alien somewhere is going to tell you, what are you talking about, universal time? There's nothing universal about your time. And who knows, maybe somewhere. Okay, hey guys, I'm going to go fill up. I forgot to bring my little bucket with the beer in it. And it's going to give another positive point to all the people that are calling me a drunk. So, yes, I am. Haha. And it was a drunk that's here to stay and talk about radio. So we're going to talk and start answering the questions. If anybody has questions also, we'll try answering it. I'm just going to fill up on beer for a second, and I'm going to continue talking because, of course, with a wireless mic, I can continue babbling around. So basically, today is a question and answer, like I said at the beginning, and I've gathered some of the interesting questions that people have about the aspects of our hobby, and I think it's going to be real interesting to learn a little more. Thank you, everybody, by the way, for being here. It's always fun to have all of you watching the show and interacting. It adds a really nice dimension to the show to have the interaction here. So, okay. Opening my second Fait du Monde, which I had forgotten in the freezer, but it doesn't seem to be frozen, so not too bad. And DX the cat is sleeping right now in the living room, so here we are. Okay. So, yeah, like Heimapper says, one metric system, one time format, one currency, one language. That, I think that would I'll probably make a lot of things better. Imagine if everybody would just speak the same language from the start. Don't you think that there would already be a little less tension between everybody in the world? Because at least we would all understand each other in our language. I don't know. Maybe we'd feel more united with the same language. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? We have a gazillion languages on Earth, and nobody understands each other, and a lot of them don't care, unfortunately. Okay, the first question that we will have today is a question that's coming to us from Bob in Maryland, USA. And he sent me that question a few weeks ago. And so his question, he's been watching a lot of my shows. He's been following mostly the wideband show because he doesn't listen to shortwave. But he says that he was a really, really big scanner fan in the late 80s and into part of the 90s. And he had a lot of fun with that. Basically, what he said is that he stopped listening at some point because, some of his local favorite frequencies became encrypted, like the police and stuff like that. But he's actually found my live show and found it interesting that somebody's still talking about scanner radios. So his question to me was, he's got a Uniden BC235 XLT scanner. And he was wondering, since he bought that scanner a long time ago, if he should upgrade it or change it or anything, would it be, it's actually frozen, look at that. It's got a little bit of ice coming out of it. So what he's saying is, well, is there, should he change his scanner? You know what? My first idea of this would be no. Why? Because you say yourself that you haven't been listening a lot for a while, and you are wondering, is a new scanner, a more advanced scanner today, would help you listen to more signals? Technically, not that many more. Yes, there are a few things that, like P25 stuff, and there are a few things that actually would change. But overall, what I would say is it will not really impact that much your radio listening. And I think before you invest, or before, some people watch my show and finally find out that there are other people like us that are basically aliens to the rest of the population with our radio stuff. And they get suddenly back into the hobby and they find like, wow, cool, I just found a gang of people talking about radio. I just found a gang of people that just really are having fun in 2016 with their radio scanners or their shortwave receivers. And they want to come back to the hobby because it gave them that little something that was missing to just come back into the radio hobby. And basically, you know what? Your scanner, because I looked at the model before the show, and I looked at the model, of course, when I answered your question. It has all the frequency ranges up to 800 megahertz. That means you have the main stuff, the main frequency ranges that you can listen to and have signals to listen to. And instead of buying a new receiver today, because a lot of people that might watch this video say, well, I've got an old scanner. Maybe it's out of, it's something that's not worth using anymore. Well, no, not really. You know what? I think it's still worth it to use it. There's still a lot of signals you'll be hearing. But like all of the aspects of the radio hobby, there's been some shift in what you can listen to and the signals you'll be hearing. Yes, there's some encryption that's coming through on some places more than others. So maybe where you live, there's more encryption today. So it will lower the amount of signals, but it doesn't mean there's nothing to listen to. And, I do not like somebody saying, hey, one comment that I had on the channel today and made me laugh a little bit. Somebody said, why should I invest in a radio like you have when there's an app on my iPhone that lets me listen to the police? And of course, my answer to that was, well, first of all, that app on your iPhone makes you listen to the police in very specific areas around the world. So 80% of us do not have our local police on any apps in the iPhone or Android store. Also, yeah, you listen to the police, maybe the fire and emergency stuff. If that's all what you want to hear, it might be okay. But a scanner radio has much more signals and much more stuff to listen to. There ain't just the police, That is something that always comes up. A friend of mine that lives not very far, we went to school together. I always give him as an example because he's the perfect example of a lot of people with scanner radios. Hey, local police is now encrypted. That means my scanner radio now is worth nothing. And I always reply back, well, there's like tons of other things to listen to. Police is one part of the scanner hobby. A lot of people, I gotta say, a lot of people came into the scanner hobby because they knew they could listen to the local police. And that, I gotta say, is a major push for a lot of guys that came into the hobby. And they would listen to the cops. But you know what? Personally, I mean, in I've been listening to shortwave 35 years. I've been a scanner listener for 30 years because of my first patrolman receivers and everything. You know what? The police was, in all of these years, I don't think I listened to the police more than 1 or 2% of all the time of radio that I did with my scanners. I actually found that the police was kind of boring to listen to, in general. Oh yeah, there's this drunk guy and at this corner street and these harassing people. Who cares? I don't care. That's boring. Oh yeah, there's this guy that's, beat his wife at that address. Sad, but boring, you know? The only real time that the police is interesting for me is when there's something special happening. I remember when there was this, when the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup in '92, I believe. I gotta say that night was something to listen to on the police, because it's like there was a riot downtown and the cops were really going crazy. That's interesting police listening. When something is happening, it's interesting police listening. When there's a weather event, a huge snowstorm, an ice storm, or thunderstorms that are so strong that are like trees are breaking all over and everything. That is the kind of listening for police that I find more interesting, because now you have a account of what's happening around you, and that's cool. That's really cool. But day to day, listening to the police is kind of boring. I mean, that's where you see that the police have, okay, a gazillion types of things that they see every day in their lives, but uninteresting, So it's sad to see that a lot of people, when the cops get encrypted, say, well, there's nothing more to listen to. There's a lot of stuff. There's amateur radio signals. I've shown you guys how to. Some of you found, thanks to my channel, that you could listen to, satellites, amateur radio satellites and stuff like that. Other things, airports, all sorts of communications from, private companies and so on. There are stuff to listen to. You got to take the time to listen. Unfortunately, too many people program channels in their scanners. And after a while, the only thing you do is just scan through the same frequencies over and over again. And they don't use what I believe is the most useful feature of any scanner, and that's why it's called a scanner, by the way. The ability to take a frequency range and go through all of the frequencies in that range over and over again, because you'll hear that special transmission you didn't know was there on that VHF frequency or UHF frequency. There's a lot of things to listen to. There's the railroads, there's marine, there's taxis, yes, of course. The air bands, a lot of people love, here we got a big airport. I told him, listen to the planes. And he lives not far from me. He said, look, you can sit down on a nice summer day, look at the planes coming through, and hear them on your scanner. You can hear them ID and talk to the airport as they're crossing over your head. It's kind of cool. Seeing all the airplanes, the different companies from the different countries coming over. It's kind of cool. There's a lot of things like that. One thing that I often also found that was cool in a scanner listening, and you know what? It goes back to that scanner that you're talking about, that old scanner, and anybody watching that has an old scanner lying around. When the weather's beautiful out there, take it with you. Go somewhere where there's something to listen to. Listening is half of the fun. Seeing what you're listening is another half of the fun. In the summertime, one of the things that I always enjoyed, we got a big port here in Montreal. It's one of the biggest ports in North America, and with the St. Lawrence Seaway. And you know what? There's a lot of boats that are coming from, all the countries in the world that go in the St. Lawrence Seaway. Well, I go to the east of the island, Montreal. There's this nice park. It's a huge park. And there, you sit on a bench, you bring your scanner, and you can see the boats going through, and you can listen to the marine VHF frequencies. There's tons of interesting stuff to listen to. So when you add also that, going somewhere where you can also enjoy your scanner listening, it adds a lot of stuff, a lot of, a new dimension to your radio listening. And I gotta say, if you've got an old scanner, anybody watching this saying, yeah, I got an old scanner in a box somewhere, take your radio out, There's stuff to listen to, and I can bet you that you can scan frequency ranges, and you'll be surprised at the types of communications you can still hear. Railroad. If you like trains, railroad communications. You like boats, there's maritime stuff. You like planes, there's airport communications. There's a lot of stuff to listen to. You got to take the time. Unfortunately, we're in a kind of a society where if it doesn't do what we want immediately, well, the hell with it. We're not going to continue on. We got to say one thing. Our hobby has one thing that we have to understand. It's that listening to shortwave, listening to scanner radio takes time. You have to take the time to sit down, read manuals. You got to take the time to just, use that radio and learn not only how to use it, because, hey, I got to say one thing. These things are really complex. There's a lot of things to do with this. There's a lot of functionalities in there. Well, yeah, they are complex, but one of the things I got to say is that when you listen to scanning frequency ranges takes also a lot of time. And you might scan a frequency range a gazillion times and hear nothing, and one day you hear something. It's cool. You want to know what it is, and you'll go on the internet, and you'll use the internet for that. Today we have that is even better. When I started with my first scanner, or even with the patrolman, I remember hearing signals and having no idea what the hell that was. Today you go on the internet and you almost have an answer immediately. Cheers, everyone. So, radio listening is fun. Got to take the time to do it. You really got to take the time to do it. Hey, Chicago DX, nice to have you on board. Hey, Sunbird 90, hello. DX is in the living room sleeping. Chicago DX says the app on your iPhone is what is forcing public safety agencies to go encrypted. That is true. That is, I believe, some of it is because of that. Because there's a lot more people listening to the police from any places using an app than there are using scanner radios. And Jerry, like Jerry says, police gets boring. Yep, Habs are doing really good this year. I went to see the Habs not this week, last week, Thursday of the other week. A friend of mine is vice president of a company here in downtown, and he got some really nice tickets. And I went to see the Montreal Canadiens at the Bell Center, and man, we were close. I mean, I've never been that close to the gameplay. It was really, really nice, and really was cool. Aussie Orlando says, yeah, police scanning did get boring except on Friday nights. Oh, yeah, there are periods of time. Friday nights, around midnight, 1 a.m., all the things that happen. Or it's like, one thing that I did enjoy in listening to cell phones when they were analog. I mean, listening to cell phones at midnight is interesting. I would let my Pro 2006 scan all the time on the cell frequencies, because that's the time when you hear the guys going on those sex, the sex lines, and the guys that are doing all sorts of weird things, and it's like, now you're having fun because you're listening in and you're like, okay, it's just, or the guys that going on the hookup lines, and it's like, yeah, I'm David, and I'm 6'2". I like sports, and I'd like to have a thin, beautiful woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, that knows what she's talking about. And you have that back and forth thing with these lines, and it's just so funny, and it's just so weird. There were some aspects of listening to cell phones, for example, in late evening that was kind of fun. I gotta say, I've heard so many funny things, so many hilarious moments where you're like, oh God, come on, really? I remember I'd come back at that time. I was working, and I remember the evening I would, do computer stuff, and I would just leave it on the cell frequencies, let it scan through, and listen to that in the background while I was doing my computer stuff and going on BBSs and things like that. And boy, I laughed my head off in some evenings with, communications, especially on the weekends. That was really, really, really cool. So, Jerry says, listening to Soyuz and ISS comms yesterday, fun listening. Yeah, that is fun listening. Jerry says, police usually good on the weekends. Yes, that is true. Jerry says, I'm probably in one of the most active areas in the world with all the ship, planes, and traffic. I gotta say, I'm extremely lucky here on the scanner side. I gotta say that for VHF, UHF listening, Montreal is kind of heaven for that type of communications, because we got several railways, we've got the airport that has a lot of traffic, we've got one big maritime, with the Port of Montreal, which is really, really very, very occupied. It's one of the most occupied ports in North America. I mean, I gotta say, I'm extremely lucky to have all of that communication coming through in Montreal, and unfortunately, not everybody has all of that. All of that. Jerry says my R20 is my lightsaber. Yeah, basically, pretty much the same thing here. Right now, just looking, there's a. There's some traffic on a UHF amateur radio repeater, 447125. So, I gotta say, yeah, it is true. I might be a little overhyped on the scanner side because of the amount of signals I do have here, and it's true that if you're in a very quiet area, maybe you're gonna find it boring compared to me. I gotta say that my what I got in my reception here is different from a lot of people. Cool AM, was that a Jupiter scanner? No, this is an ICOM ICR20, which is a little portable scanner. I love this thing. This is one of the cool portables out there, and I'm really, really, really happy to own one. Now, especially now they're discontinued, this is one of the best portable scanners, or it's not a scanner, it's, a communications receiver. Really, really, really nice. But yeah, they do have, they have similar looks, I gotta say. When I bought this ICOM, I looked at the Jupiter for a long time. I gotta say, I almost got a Jupiter instead of an ICOM. For sure. TOT says, walk in the mall with your scanner and scan the FRG channels. You will hear the staff in stores talking about customers and who will go to who, up to who. Incredible. Yeah, I did see. I did see the emails, Cool AM. I will be checking all of that out. Thanks, by the way. Yes, I have seen that some stores do use FRGs, which I don't know why stores use that or companies would use that. I'm sorry, but that's kind of really, really not private. I would use some other types of communications. Also, what's cool, you know what? I have the frequencies of all the security downtown Montreal, which is really nice. So you go, to this big mall and you hear the security and what's happening in different places around the mall. It's pretty cool. Hey, Jeffrey Kropp, nice to have you from New Hampshire, Couch Potato. Hope you're feeling better. Hope that slowly everything is getting better to you, and that you'll be able to get up and walk around a little more. So, TOT says, I thought it was illegal to retransmit police signals. How do apps get away with it? Well, yes, I don't know. Here, like here in Canada, the law technically says that what you can hear, You can listen to whatever you want here. The law, because when scanners were extremely popular, you know what happened? They, of course, started looking at the laws and what we were allowed to do or not. And there was the federal government actually had a moment where they were saying, okay, should we ban, scanner radio? Should we ban people from listening to the police or, law enforcement of some sort? And it was decided here in Canada in the early 90s that, okay, you are allowed to listen to what you want, but you got to keep what you hear for yourself. And you're not allowed to talk about details of what you're listening to anybody else. It was kind of the way that decided the law. And you could not use communications that you hear on the receiver for personal gain and make money somehow, for example. So that's pretty much how they did it. So we pretty much were able to listen to what we want, but technically, yeah, the law should state that you're not allowed to retransmit. And I would guess that, maybe it's a gray area because it's on the internet and so on. I don't know. I'm not, where does it stand? I would think that it's illegal to retransmit police communications from any cities in Canada, but nobody seems to do anything about it, so I don't know. I really don't know, basically. Hey, I'm Mapper. See you later. So I don't know. Matteo Castro says he likes to take his PL660 to air shows and listen to the pilots. Yeah, that is cool. Tom Hay, nice to have you on board, says I have military air on in the background most of the time. That's cool. Pretty cool. So, there's stuff to listen to, and I think that to go back to the basic question of, should you change your scanner? I think you should start by listening again. Use that scanner. And if anybody has an old scanner lying around that doesn't do anything, turn it back on and start tuning around the frequencies before thinking of buying anything else. Buying a new scanner will not bring you new signals. What's going to bring you new signals is to take the one you have and start listening. And that's going to be more productive, I think, than just changing that old scanner for something new. Especially, they're kind of expensive. I gotta say that. Danny, Shortwave and Radio DX. Hello there. Nice to have you on board from Yonkers, New York. Cheers, and cheers with my usual Fin du Monde beer. That is a little slushy because it kind of froze in the fridge, but I like it. It's good. Really good. Cool AM Radio says, over here in the Netherlands, scanners are almost useless for police. Since a few years, all digitalized. Yeah. Well, here in Montreal, the Montreal police is digital only. It's been, they passed into digital in December of last year. But there's the provincial police that we can still listen to, and the reason why is that the territory of the province of Quebec is very, very big. There's a lot of mountains in the north of the territory, and what happened is when they introduced that digital encryption, it didn't work well. So I'd say about 75% of the local provincial police, they are in the clear. They are analog. The only time that they actually encrypt is when they actually give the details about somebody, because, for example, when they give a ticket, they always want to know, that person, if everything is all right. So when they stop a car, they send out, the name and the address of that person and all sorts of details on them. That's the only time when you encrypt it. So basically, they're going to say, okay, here's the, you'll hear the guy say, well, here's the license plate. And then you'll hear them come back in a digital form. So you won't hear what they're saying about that person. And then it's going to come back to analog again. So that's pretty much what they're doing right now. And so there's still some stuff to listen to. But I got to say, that was a little touchy. I remember in the 80s when I was listening to the provincial police. I mean, they had no digital. And I remember that was kind of weird, you know, because you'd hear the cops say, well, okay, this is, you know, this person lives at this address, at this city. He's got this type of, you know, license. And he's been arrested that year, and now he's in probation and so on. I got to say, that was a lot of personal details about people. And anyone that was listening, to that could almost make a home record of pretty much everybody in their license plate. It was, I got to say, that was a little touchy. You know, I was like, that's a lot of details about people given over the air. You know, that these are things that we don't see in the local police here. So now what they did is, yeah, they just, you know, encrypt that part so that we don't hear, you know, who it is and where they live and all the details. But you still can listen to and hear what's happening if there's an accident and stuff like that on the highway. So basically, Cool AM Radio says doesn't remember if it was illegal in Belgium to receive police. Here, the idea is that it's not illegal to receive the police, but one of the new laws that was in place here in Canada is that it is illegal to decrypt a digital transmission that is not meant for your ears. So, for example, if they would be able to decrypt the local police in Montreal with their new system, it's technically illegal now to listen to the cops because it's illegal to decrypt the transmission because it's not meant for me. So that, you know, they've done it in a different way. Decrypting in Canada is now illegal. And it's funny because the way that it says it, it's almost as if, basically, if I decrypt digital transmissions from amateur radio operators on shortwave, it's almost if, you know, it's illegal. It's sad, but, you know, gotta say. Jerry says, with this day and age, with terrorist attacks, a good scanner could save your life. Yeah. Unfortunately, it could also help. You know, that's always the same debate also. That's one of the things here. The debate that, okay, well, you know, one of the reasons why encryption is used is because scanner radios can be used by bad guys also. You know, there's kind of a positive and negative in here. And I don't know. So, hey, you're watching the Wideband YouTube show, and we are on every Friday, 2000 hours UTC. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Time, North America. And my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we have another show tomorrow at 2000 hours UTC, a shortwave show tomorrow. I hope you guys will enjoy that also. And talking about shortwave, I heard the relay of 5150 kilohertz, that pirate station on 5150 was on pretty much all day yesterday. I saw reports at 1400 hours that some people were hearing 5150, and I checked at 1900 and it was on, and there was some music and everything. It was still there. Pretty amazing. So people are listening to Radio Australia, apparently barely making it on 17840. So probably weak. You know, at this time of year, 17840 is one of those frequencies that's not making it very well. It's going to come back, you know, late spring into the summer. That's a summer frequency. It's really a summer frequency. But one thing, if 17840 is making it just barely today, maybe propagation is actually pretty good. So, as we continue to do the questions, what do we have in the questions? I have a question that is from Robert, and that's also something that I get asked from time to time. Robert is planning to come to Canada this winter for some skiing and everything, and he knows that, you know, of course, wintertime in Canada has its great, you know, positive points, but it also has its risky points. Is if you get to Canada and there's major snowstorms and stuff like that. So he was wondering, because he says that his ham radio gear in his car can receive the NOAA weather frequencies. And he was wondering, are these frequencies valid in Canada? Is there any NOAA-like weather service? And yes, there is. In Canada, we have Environment Canada that uses the same 7 frequencies that the NOAA frequencies. And depending on where you are, yes, you will have some listening. And I'm going to give you an idea, because this that I was given by Fastload, by the way, is one example. This was bought in Florida, and this is for the U.S. market. It's for NOAA weather frequencies. So in the back, there's a switch for the NOAA 7 NOAA frequencies, and on this switch is for the alerts, the weather alerts. Well, if I turn it on,
soleil et de nuages avec 30% de probabilité d'averse de neige, maximum -1.
So there's what you're hearing now. It's in French, but this is Environment Canada, and it's on the channel 1. And so, depending on where you are in Canada, you will receive the Canadian weather broadcasts. So your equipment, any type of NOAA weather type radio, works in Canada. And even better is that the weather alerts that the US has on NOAA frequencies, same thing here. So if you've got, like this one has alert, weather alert button. If you put it in alert mode, it will also work with Canadian weather alert frequencies. Because what's happening is that they are using here in Environment Canada the same tones and the same digital format to send out what type of weather alert it is. So, yep, you are going to be using the same equipment as across Canada. And I mean, it's amazing how clear and how well these frequencies are. You know, I remember going to a ton of places around the province of Quebec, sometimes being almost in the middle of nowhere, and being surprised at the fact that I could still hear at least one weather channel on a frequency pretty much everywhere I went to. So, yeah, you can actually use the same equipment for NOAA weather that in Canada, because we have Environment Canada. The only difference and the only thing is that the transmissions in Canada are bilingual. So if you tune in and you don't understand anything, it's because it's sending out the French bulletin. So what you do is just wait a few minutes, and the loop is going to go back to English and French. It's always English, French, English, French. That's Canada for you. So if you go skiing somewhere, want to know what the weather conditions are going to be like, tune in to one of the 7 frequencies. You'll hear a NOAA weather or Environment Canada weather. And if it's in French, just wait, and you'll see that it's going to revert to English at some point. Aussie Orlando says, I read that some states in the U.S. will revert back to unencrypted police radio comms for transparency and better public relations. Yeah, I have read the same article, Austin Orlando, and it actually apparently there's already some places that are doing it because of all everything that's happening right now, and a lot of shooting of black people and so on. The police, a lot of police or law enforcement services in the United States are kind of scared that people, because everything is encrypted, that the cops want to hide something. So there are some, apparently already there are some that removed encryption, because if people listen in on their scanners, they'll have a better idea of what happened, and they will, it's kind of giving more transparency, like kind of saying to people where we're not trying to hide anything. So, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think encrypting communications for police is a good idea. I don't think it helps in any way. It helps because, yeah, um, some people will use scanner receivers to do bad stuff. Bad guys listening to the cops on scanner radios to know if they are found out or anything. That is true, but I don't think it's that much of a problem most of the time. I can tell you that. Cool AM Radio says that in December, some cool AM shows will be relayed over North America. I hope so. I want to hear some cool AM radio stuff. And by the way, December, a little bit like, Halloween is a great time for Halloween for pirate radio. December with Christmas and New Year is a great month for pirate radio activity. So I think it's going to be nice to listen to and try to listen to pirate stations. TOC wants to know if some people buy Chinese radios like the Baofangs and the Wuxin radios. A lot of amateur radio people buy these Chinese. And from what I've seen, a lot of people seem to be really happy with these really inexpensive Baofeng and Wuxin receivers and transceivers. A lot of people buy these and really, really enjoy those. So it seems that I haven't seen anyone kind of unhappy with one of those. So and we've talked in the past here in the show where people were sharing their own comments on these Baofengs and so on. And for pretty much everybody's kind of happy for the price paid. Most people seem to be happy with these little radios. So, Cool AM says that when possible also will be relayed on 5150 kilohertz. We're going to try to listen to Cool AM. I want to hear Cool AM on those frequencies, on the pirate frequencies. So, Cool AM has a few online old shows. CoolAM.nl. So check that out. And TOT has a 1 kilowatt HF RF amplifier. Anyone interested? Yes, I am. I'll be starting my own pirate station. I shouldn't say that on the air, basically. Danny Shortwave Radio DX says, yes, New York Police Department, Fire Department, and emergency services is all analog. Very few services are digital around here. Oh, that's nice. Really nice. Not a lot of digital stuff, apparently. So they maybe turned off the encryption. And that's cool. Why not? So, lots of interesting stuff here to listen to. So what other questions we have today? Okay, so yep. Environment Canada frequencies, same as NOAA for the weather stuff. We have Charlie that is located in a rural area in South Dakota. And he says that he's been scanning 30 to 54 megahertz over and over and over again. Even left it doing that days at a time. Hasn't heard a signal at all. And he was wondering, is there really something to listen to from 30 to 54? You know what? You do say that you, in your comment, that you live in an area that is far away from big cities. So, yeah, 30 to 54 is going to be less stuff to listen to. That is for sure. But that said, 30 to 54 has a very interesting feature that means you should still give it a try regularly. Because it's close to the shortwave spectrum, 30 to 54 megahertz, depending on solar activity and also, especially, sporadic E-skip, can sometimes bring in signals from very far away. So if you don't hear anything on 30 to 54, continue trying, because on some days you will hear some stuff. You know what? 30 to 54 here in Montreal, there's not a lot to listen to. I typically hear, I heard maybe 2 or 3 transmissions. And, you know, now that the cordless phones are gone from that frequency range, I hear baby monitors around 49.930 or 830 or something like that. 49.830, 49.845. So I hear some baby monitors, but it's a very quiet band. But when the sporadic E-skip season is here, I often hear communications coming from the United States. I've heard some police chases in the United States on those frequencies. I've heard all sorts of communications. 50 to 54 is a 6-meter amateur band. I've heard amateur stations from the United States, even one from Mexico, when the conditions were right on these frequency ranges. So you got to listen to that frequency range at the right moment. Sporadic E is something that can happen all the time, but most of the sporadic E-skip happens in June, July, August, or there's a little bit in December, January, but it's mostly a summer thing most of the time. So, you know, don't despair. Keep listening, and I can tell you that anyone that listens to 30 to 54 megahertz, especially if you have a good antenna or outdoor antenna if possible, you know what? You're going to send me a message someday and say, hey, I heard something on that frequency. It was cool. And you know, it's the question of being patient. There are frequency ranges that are not as interesting as other, and you got to be patient. You know, patience is one of the best things in radio listening, because it sometimes takes a lot of time to receive signals on some specific frequency ranges. But there's stuff to listen to. Don't despair, and you know, have that radio scan that frequency range from time to time. I think you're gonna check it out. And if you want to know about sporadic E-skip, remember one website that is very, very interesting for that. And that website is dxmaps.com. dxmaps.com. And if you click on 50 megahertz and the VHF and up, you will see a map of the world. And if you see some amateur signals coming in your area on that map, that means that 30 to 54 megahertz should be live and should have signals. You can also check 28 megahertz, and if you see some activity on 28 megahertz, you might actually have some activity on the lower part of the 30 to 54 range. Like, for example, if I look at the 10-meter band, FM, there's some activity. There's a lot of activity right now on the 10-meter band between northeast United States and southern Canada, with stations in Brazil, Lots of South Americans and Central American stations from what I see right now. So that means that 10-meter band is open now, and it's also open maybe on the lower part of the frequency range. Now, as darkness starts to spread, it's gonna soon stop. But here live on that DX Maps, I could see that there's activity, and with Brazil, and the latest activity, if I look here, is 2137, station K7XC with LU4JJB, which is, I believe, Argentina. So that is interesting. You see, there is activity on CW. There's Brazilian stations on 28450. Anybody that wants to try it out, 28450, upper sideband. That means if these stations are there, maybe the lower 30 megahertz, 30, 35 megahertz, maybe you could hear something. That's something to try for also. So that's pretty cool, and really, really nice. So you got to be patient and check it out. There are some signals, there are some stuff that you can hear from time to time. And you just have to, be patient and listen. And who knows? TOT says 30.580. I heard California police or sheriff's car. Yep, there still are some police in the United States that still use those 30 megahertz frequency ranges. So, yep, lots of little things that you can be listening to. It's really, really nice. And, it's one of those hobbies that you got to be patient, basically. What else do we have? Okay, we have Alfred that says that a friend of his wants to sell him a Pro 43 scanner for $40. Now, this question, I got it this morning, so I didn't answer by email, but I'm also going to talk about this. So, he's selling a Pro 43 for $40. He wanted to know if it was a good deal. You know what? The Pro 43 scanner, I got one here, is this little baby here. This is a very fast scanning scanner. It's not a trunk scanner. And it has, it's one of the few scanners that has the military airband. And you know what? For $40, yes. Because for $40, if you don't buy it, I want it. I don't care if I have two. For $40, this is worth it. $40. Oh yeah, it's worth it. It's not a trunk scanner, but it's such a good scanner that it is worth having in your collection. And this is one of the good portable scanners from Radio Shack in the 90s. And I mean, I bought this full price in 1991 or 2 or something like that. I don't remember when it was released, but I remember this was $500 and I bought it for $500 back then. I didn't even wait when it was on sale. I wanted to have it immediately. And basically this is worth it for $40. And it's going to introduce you, because you say that you don't have a scanner radio, you never really had one. It's going to bring you into the hobby. You'll see if you like it or not. And, for $40, it's really not expensive. And you know what? That for $40, you'll be able to sell it to somebody else for at least $40, even more. So you're not going to lose any money if you don't like it. Just sell it to somebody else. Somebody else is going to buy it. I think it's worth it. It's one of those nice little scanners. I can tell you from the time. So, yep, it's worth it. Okay, we have Frank in Tampa Bay, Florida, that says he remembers listening to cell phones back in the 90s, and he was wondering, is there any way to listen to cell phones today? So, yeah, in the 90s, cell phones were analog, so it was easy to listen to. They were all concentrated in the 800 megahertz range. And most scanners blocked that, but were very easily changed. I remember my Pro 2006. You just got a little diode in the front panel, and you had access to the cell phone frequencies. Now, today's cell phones are now using digital signals, most often wide, spread spectrum type technology like GSM and so on. Fortunately, there's no real way to listen to. Yes, there are some groups. I've seen some hacks on some websites that some groups had been able to listen to these encrypted signals and everything. But overall, you cannot really listen to cell communications today anymore. It's not possible, and it requires some equipment, really expensive equipment, basically to have cell communication. So here's DX saying hi to everybody. So hello DX the cat. So it's something that's pretty much impossible, and the technology used for that is complex, even if you had everything. And I don't know about other places, but basically here in Canada, we now have a law that says that encrypted signals that are not meant for you are illegal to the code. So that technically means that it's pretty much illegal to listen to cell phone communications. It's sad. There was a fun part in listening to. There was a fun part to listening to the cell phones. When they were analog, there was kind of something that was pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, like everybody says, TOT even says, that Pro 43, good scanner. It is a great scanner. I love the Pro 43. That's why I kept it. I have a lot of regrets of selling some older receivers. I would say I don't have as many regrets as selling scanner radios. Most scanner radios that I've sold, I don't really mind not having them anymore. But I got to say, the Pro 43 I kept because I could not imagine that I would depart from that radio, which is one of the great scanners. It's not a trunk scanner, but man, it's one of the fastest. Even compared to today, I'd say that it's probably one of the fastest scanners around for scanner frequency ranges. So basically, it beats a lot of the scanners today in the scan speed. So it tells you how fast it scanned back in the 90s, when one of the fastest scanners around. And I had a lot of fun in the 90s because here in northern New York, in Plattsburgh, there was a big air base in the United States in Plattsburgh, New York. And we didn't hear here in Montreal any military communications because there's no real, there's a military base in Montreal, but it's not, there's nothing there. There's no air base or anything. It's just, they're just storing equipment and that's it. So there was really nothing to listen to on the military side. And what's cool is that in Plattsburgh, New York, there was this big air base in the 90s. And they had a lot of demonstrations and air shows and also all sorts of, practice flights and everything. So it was cool because I could hear here in Montreal on that Pro 43 communications when the planes were up in the air. Now they were audible, and I could hear comms from all sorts of military exercise over the Plattsburgh, New York Air Base and stuff like that. Unfortunately, when the U.S. government did really drastic cuts in the military budgets in the 90s, they shut down or at least reduced the Plattsburgh, but I think they shut it down. The Plattsburgh military base became simply, almost inexistent. And it's sad because that meant that I couldn't hear anything anymore. But at least for some time, I had a scanner that had the military base, the military frequencies, sorry, and I did hear some military stuff. So it was useful at some point for that, and I really enjoyed listening to the military stuff with that scanner. And there's still the airports. I mean, on the UHF military band, there's also the air band. So there's the UHF air band where you can listen to some signals. So it was really cool. And DX Place wants to know, anyone has experience with a J-pole antenna for scanning? I've heard that. I've heard and seen J-pole antennas. I've never tried them myself. Here, the only scanner antennas I've ever used, right now I have a vertical mobile antenna. And it works really well. It's 30 to 1300 megahertz antenna. And the only other antenna for scanner listening that I've ever had was a Discone. I had a Radio Shack Discone for many years, but due to the 10 plus years that it was outside with weather, cold weather, warm weather, ice storms, snowstorms, rainstorms, and everything, when I wanted to dismantle it to bring it here, when I moved here, it just broke down, so I couldn't do anything about it. And so according to TO that is using one, seems to be good on high frequencies and so on the lower band. Lower band is kind of a tricky one for a lot of antennas because it has such long wavelength that a lot of scanner antennas don't do very well on the low frequencies. And a lot of antennas also have problems with the higher range. One of the antennas I've always been curious to try, when I bought my ICOM ICRD 500, I remember seeing in Radio World in Toronto a Discone made by ICOM, and it was rated to be good from 25 megahertz to 2 gigahertz. So basically, I was really curious that antenna was such a wide band antenna, and I always wondered if it was good or not. But it was extremely expensive. It was like $300 to get one, and so I never got one. But I always wondered, was it worth it? Was that a good antenna? I don't know. Danny Shortwave Radio DX says, yes, Plattsburgh Air Force Base was a bomber base and was shut down after the Soviet Union collapsed in the mid-90s, along with a bunch of air bases. Yeah, I miss the Plattsburgh Air Force Base because of that, because of all the communications it brought me on my scanners. When they were doing all sorts of military maneuvers and exercise, it was kind of cool. I could listen to a lot of communications. That was kind of fun, I gotta say. I do miss that a little bit. I do miss that. It's sad. Well, everything is around money, and it seems that our governments are running short. Okay, what else do we have here? What are the frequencies? Okay, this is a question that was asked to me by a viewer that is in South Carolina, and he lives close to the shore of the Atlantic Ocean. I didn't write down his name. Sorry for I forgot that. But anyways, he says that he was wondering what are the frequencies for maritime VHF communications, because he wanted to see if you can hear anything, being so close to the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. So the marine VHF frequencies, in general are between ouch, the cat has his claws in my leg. Ow, that's not good. So okay, Canadian VHF marine frequencies, or general marine frequencies for VHF, generally are, so if we look at United States here of VHF coverage, basically 15615. Let's just check here because we have by channel, but the frequency range in general is about 156, 157 megahertz. In that range, you will hear some VHF maritime communications, basically, and there's a lot of stuff. It's all divided by channels. If you type VHF frequencies for United States in Google, you will find many websites that talk about the VHF frequencies and also give you what channel it is. Because if you've seen marine radios, you'll see that they have different channels. So everything is in different channels, but there's different frequencies, and these frequencies are with different types of communications. So 156, 157 megahertz range is a lot of the VHF or the maritime stuff is in there, and that's where mostly you'll hear the boats and everything. Cool AM Radio says many maritime frequencies on boatsafe.com, so you can check that out. And when you live near a port or near the ocean, or a very big lake that is used for merchandise and stuff like that, there's a lot of communications there, and it's interesting, and it's part of the hobby and the interesting stuff that you can hear in such areas, basically. So we're almost at 2 hours into the show, which goes by really fast. And you're listening to the VHF, or the wideband radio show. Wideband means it's anywhere from the basement of radio, 1 kilohertz, to gigahertz, anything that is a radio, basically. Any types of signals on any types of frequencies. Everything is included in here. Through the email, I have a message that comes from Brian, that is located in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. And he says that he's been able to DX 940 kilohertz AM, which is our new medium wave station here in Montreal. For those that want to DX, by the way, especially those that are not too far from Montreal and want to DX a new station on the medium wave band, 940 kilohertz AM is our new station, CFNV, Charlie Foxtrot November Victor. This is a new talk station, a French language talk station. It will start, technically, according to the license, it's supposed to start its programming on November 21st, which is Monday. But I don't know if it's going to be Monday. It's testing now with music and IDs every 15 minutes, where they ID the station in French, give a phone number if you have interference and stuff. And it's one of those new stations from TTP Media, which I don't know who they are exactly. So it's supposed to be a French language talk station, 940 kilohertz, running full 50 kilowatts, by the way, because they're on the Montreal Clear channel. It's one of those channels that is assigned for Montreal. Sorry, DX, I almost hit DX by talking. So basically, it's a 50 kilowatt station, a Clear channel station, and it should be heard at night pretty well everywhere. I saw a post on a YouTube channel of somebody listening to it from the UK. So a guy in the UK DX 940 kilohertz. So CFNV. And there's supposed to be an English language talk station that apparently will show up on 600 kilohertz, which is another clear channel frequency here in Montreal. They have actually asked for a license, I believe in 2012. They are getting now their third extension for the license. Apparently in 2017 we might have something new on 600 kilohertz. These are old frequencies that the CBC, 940 kilohertz is the CBC in Montreal used 940 kilohertz. Now that new talk station in French. 600 kilohertz was the old frequency of CFCF. That was one of those English language stations. CFCF, by the way, 600 kilohertz. One of the first, if not the first, Montreal medium wave station back in 1922 or something. Now, in 2017, we might have something on 600 kilohertz. So that's something that you might think about for sure. Richard in Atlanta, Georgia, nice to have you on board, says, hey, Joel, have you considered Diamond D3000N discount antenna? It receives 25 to 3,000 megahertz or 3 gigahertz for 134 US. Well, you know what? That is something I would consider. I think that could be a really good one. And you know what? Much less expensive than the ICOM one, which was dreadfully expensive. I didn't buy the ICOM one for the simple reason that I thought $300 for a discount was way too expensive. Really, I thought it was really way too expensive. But you know what? I that could be one. You know what? When I consider a new antenna, maybe the Diamond D3000N could be a good one. I want to have a discount here, and so 134 US is not too bad of a price. I think that could be interesting, and if it receives well across the board, I think it's a good one because, I got a wideband radio, and having a good antenna is really, really nice. Jerry says he's heard 940 kilohertz AM last night, so that's cool. That's cool. Some people are reporting it everywhere. Ray Kelly says it's on now with music. Yep, it's on now. It's on 24 hours a day now. Has music and French language IDs about every 15 minutes. So I think that's going to be cool. So Ray Kelly saying that 940 kilohertz coming well, where he is in Nova Scotia. That's cool. So it's packing a good signal pretty much everywhere. And they want to know where, I think they want to know what, everybody's listening to everywhere. It was nice to see that YouTube video, the guy in the UK though receiving it with a surprising signal also. Cool AM says new ITU approved VHF maritime mobile band frequencies will be authorized for usage in 2017. So they've started a new channel plan for VHF marine radio frequencies, and the new channel plan will take effect January 1st, 2017. That's interesting. That's interesting. The world is moving on and frequencies are changed, and really, really nice to see. And 8 newly created channels. Also, these channels have been dedicated for port operations and ship movement by the ITU. That is nice. TOT says he hears 940 S9 in Toronto. Cool. Let me just check it out here with a little portable. Let's use the trusty old Texan R9012 here and tune into it. So here we go. We're going to let's check it out.
Investigate reports that Aboriginal women elect.
Yep. It's on right now with some music. So that's 940 right now with some music. They have a very diverse type of music. They have, I'm just going to leave it on weekly in the background. They have it on with French and English language musics, just switching around. And Danny Shortwave Radio DX says propagation is good tonight. I'll try that station late tonight. Yep, 50 kilohertz. Cool AM Radio says 940 equal the web when he's using a web receiver in Kensington, New Hampshire. He's receiving it, so pretty S9 plus, really nice. So yeah, their music choice is actually amazing. You know what, it's an AM station, but I almost wish there would be a music station. Their choice is cool. Really like it. And Jerry says Santa needs to get you a discount, Jill. Yeah, Santa needs to have. Yeah, but you know what? One of the biggest problems right now with Santa for me is that he's a little broke. So unfortunately, you won't have any new radio stuff this year. I'm one of the poor kids that won't have what he wants. I'm so sad. No, kidding. I've got other things to attend to, but who knows? Maybe in 2017, a discount and an Icon ICR 600. That could be nice. That could be a cool mix. Who knows? Who knows? Muson says EM members gave the Diamond Day D130J some good reviews, so the 3000N must be good too. Yeah, Vaults, I know. That's why I didn't put a lot of music because I know that YouTube doesn't like it, and that's why I really kept it short. It's always the same thing. Everybody's asking me because a lot of people are telling me, "Hey, don't why do you just jump over when you're scanning the bands? Every time you come to a music station, you just jump over real quick." And I always say, well, because I don't want to get my video banned or modified in some way on YouTube. So I got to do that. I can't because there's a lot of there's a lot of banning. I can tell you that. Okay, I'm going to do that, Jerry. Okay, I am going to go back down to the little kid that I was, and Jerry says I was told that as a little kid that Santa can get you anything you want. You just have to believe. You know what? It did work when I was young. I got to say there are a few things that I got when I was young. I remember when one of the best Christmas memories I've ever had was I wanted to have a Commodore 64 computer. In 1983 or something, and I really wanted because a friend of mine had, I had a VIC-20, a Commodore VIC-20, which was really cool. But a friend of mine had a Commodore 64, and I found it just so cool, all the things that it had. And one of the best Christmas memories that I've had is in '83. I had to ask if my father had asked, what would you like for Christmas, and I said, well, Commodore 64 would be cool, but I knew also that in '83, even though my dad had a big salary, we were getting to a point where he was slowly being pushed out of where he was working. So I knew that they were kind of a little more strapped on cash. And I didn't think I would have I would have that. And when came Christmas Eve, I opened the box, and my father had intentionally put it in another box so that I could not figure out the size of the box of the Commodore, because I really knew the size of the box. So when I saw the size of the box, I was like, okay, it's not a Commodore. It was quite all right. I wasn't sad or anything. It was just, well, I'm not going to have a Commodore. And I opened the box, and there was another box in the box. And I saw the Commodore 64, and I mean, I don't think there was a happier guy in Montreal that was 14 years old. I mean, I was so happy when I saw the Commodore 64, and that's one of the best Christmases. And so, yes, you're right. And the worst, the worst thing about it is that my father had bought the Commodore 64 using credit because he didn't want to pay for it immediately because he was thinking, well, I'm going to work, I'm going to pay it bit by bit over 1 year. And when I got my Commodore 64 I'd say about 2 months later, he lost his job. And I remember, as a kid, when your parents get into trouble, you always get a little stressed out. This doesn't show, but, any kid that his parents are into trouble is stressed out. And basically, what happened is I heard my mom telling my dad, okay, look, I'm going to give you the money, and the first thing we need to do is pay out that loan for the Commodore 64. And I remember this today, and I'm like, wow, things parents will do for their kids before they do anything for anybody else is just so amazing. And, so, yeah, you know what? I'm a grown-up, and I still believe in Santa and the good things that Santa can do. That's for sure. So, yes, I know, Vaults. You know what? I got some videos of pirate stations that are barely audible. I mean, I posted videos of some pirate stations, and a lot of pirate stations have mostly music stuff. And I can tell you one thing. It's okay. Richard in Atlanta just distracted me with his joke here. The pirate stations with very, very weak signal. I thought YouTube would not find anything in there, and it's not immediate. You put the video online, and then like a month later, you get this this notice that the video has been taken down because or it's been you can't monetize because it contains music, and you're like, what? I only hear static in here. And but YouTube hears everything at some point. I don't know. They process everything. It's just amazing. Hey, David in Barcelona. Nice to have you on board. Says, watching you live in my new Huawei Y6 smartphone for the first time. So cool. Oh, cool. I hear the Huawei Y6 is a pretty cool handset. And pretty good one, too. So, Cool AM says, great receive on Longway from European stations, according to listener on the HF Underground. Cool. Yeah, there is an ID every 15 minutes. And by the way, I'm waiting for the ID to go through. I'm going to make you guys hear live the ID of the new medium wave station that is going on right now. So as soon as it IDs, I'll put it on the microphone. It's in French, by the way. So nice to have you on board, and pretty cool, the Huawei Y6. Really, really nice. Gary Smith, hello from Columbus, Indiana, USA. Nice to have you on board, Gary. And it's always cool to have everybody here. Really, really nice. So we are talking about radio, any types of radio. I still have a few questions. I still have DX the cat that's wanting some attention. Let me just check if we can hear some ID. Will I have some ID, some horror? Still some music. So still some music. I'm gonna wait for full ID. I want to hear you guys to hear the ID live. I would guess that after the next song, it's going to be an idea. So what else do we have in questions that we're going to answer? If I can just take the questions out of Mr. the Cat that's wanting some attention. Okay. One of the questions that was asked also, a lot of people ask me this one, by the way, because they've seen my shows and my videos on receiving satellites with scanner radios. And I still, even though with all the demonstrations, there's still a lot of people saying, well, okay, you gotta have some really serious equipment in order to receive satellites. And well, actually, not really. You don't really need that big equipment, you know. And so one of the questions that I got, which was from Ben, and he says, can I receive amateur satellites on an old Pro 34 scanner and rubber duck antenna? Now, you will not receive, you know, a lot of the satellites that require single sideband, you know, like Victor Oscar 52, for example. But you'll receive amateur satellites that like SO50, for example, that has an FM repeater. If you're outside, you'll be able to do so. If you also, even, you know what, Morse code, I've heard Morse code on FM regularly, and I mean, it sounds weird because it's in FM and not in, you know, CW or single sideband, but it's still audible. So yes, you can, and you can hear a lot of the other ones, the WeatherSats, the ARPCOMs. You'll hear that on a very, very basic portable scanner. You don't need anything special for that. So you don't need anything special for that. That's for sure. And I think, you know, that all you need to do is just have the frequencies and tune around the bands. But fortunately, a lot of people still think, oh yeah, but you know, you got this really expensive radio and all of that. So they're in the impression, well, you know, yeah, but you're listening to satellites with that big radio there. Well, you know, that kind of tells me, well, maybe I should make more videos of listening to amateur sats and different satellites using very, very ordinary scanners. Maybe it would help people understand that, yeah, you don't need an expensive one. Okay, DX the cat playing around with the radio here. So. F4GBE, Adrien, nice to have you on board. Says you can listen to the ISS on 145-800 with a portable scanner. Exactly. The International Space Station is, is you know, part of what you can listen to. And, sorry guys. And so, you know, you can... he wants to attack the Texan receiver. So, yeah.
Vous écoutez présentement CFNV 940 AM, une nouvelle station de radio de TTP Média sur la fréquence 940 kHz. Nous testons présentement notre signal radio et vous invitons à signaler tout problème de réception, tout brouillage radio au numéro sans frais 1-855-732-5940. La programmation régulière de notre station de radio parlée débutera progressivement sous peu. Merci et restez à l'écoute.
And here you go. Here you go. This was the ID in French. What it says, this is CFNV, talk station in Montreal, in that the French language talk station will start its programming soon. And they give a phone number if there's interference or problems in receiving the signal. Pretty much what they say. So a new AM station, and you guys just heard the full ID in French on this channel. So, yep. Also, Adrien says amateur Oscar 85, AO 85 on 145980 FM is also an easy one on the portable scanner. So, you know, you can try that. And Danny Shortwave and Radio DX. DX one still wants to play with the radio. Oh man, this is so funny. So you guys don't see this, but DX now wants to play with the radio. And yes, portable scanner and rubber duck antenna, and you can actually do this. It's pretty surprising what you can receive. I can tell you that. So basically, sorry guys, but I'm distracting DX. So basically, that's, it's easy to listen to signals from space with just a portable scanner. I always tell that same story where the first time I heard a signal from space was on my Pro 43 right here. And it had a rubber duck antenna, nothing fancy, nothing special. And basically, that's where I was listening to signals. So basically, it's just it's it's really cool. Jerry says listening to ISS comms on 121.125 megahertz. It's not that difficult. Steve Orlando says DX is so playful, just like my old friend Garf. Man, yeah, it is playful, and he really likes. I got to take some time to do it. Cool AM says CINW was the final call sign used by an English language AM radio station located in Montreal, Quebec, which, along with French language sister station CINF, ceased operation at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, CINW. There was, right now, the only station, I don't think it's on a clear channel. I think 800 kilohertz CJ80 is one of those that's not that easy to receive everywhere. So, yeah, David, David says, I would say with these phones, nobody will be able to say anymore that Chinese electronics are bad. I hear a lot of negative from people saying, oh, Chinese crap, Chinese crap. I'm going to tell you one thing. Chinese electronics ain't crap anymore. Even, look at Texan receivers. I'm sorry, but Texan receivers like the Texan PL 660, 680, or 880 isn't crappy electronics. It's pretty amazing. Now, there's a little bit of flaws in the Texan PL 680, but you know what? Overall, pretty amazing electronics. China really, really got a long way. China used to have really cheap electronics, but, and very, very weird brands too. Chinese electronics are now much better than it was in the past. I can tell you that. Garf is my antenna specialist. I miss that cat. Hello, Mr. Fastload. Welcome to our little radio show or live YouTube show. Always nice to have you on board. As usual, probably just came home from work. Hope you had a nice day. So, really cool to have everybody here. So, really nice. And F4GBE, Adrien says he's got a PL680 and does the job. Yep, it does. Yep, the International Space Station 143625 is one of the Russian frequencies. That is true. So, what else do we have in questions as we go along tonight in our radio show? Okay, this is answered. This was answered. Okay. We have, this one was today also. It seems a lot of people are sending me questions on the day of the show because they're watching, but not necessarily participating. So I have Sony. It's like Sonni. So Sunny or Sony or something like that. Sorry if I misspelled your name or mispronounce. He says he's got an old Realistic Pro 2004 scanner, which is, the ancestor to the 2006 that I have here. There was like the 2001 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So he's got an old Pro 2004, which means dates back from the 80s. And he was wondering if he doesn't use it anymore. And he's wondering if he should sell it or keep it. And he's wondering, is there enough stuff to listen to keep it? You know what? It's a good old scanner. The Pro 2004 is part of that range of scanner receivers that is known for being some of the best realistic ever done for Radio Shack. And there's a lot of modifications you can do when you look on the web and so on. I would keep that. If you really want to sell it because you're not listening and you don't have don't have interest in watching it, I don't know. You should keep that scanner. And you know what? Why don't you take the time to listen a little more if you have? There's still some stuff to listen to. Now, Fastload, that's a little scary. Fastload says, watching you on the NVIDIA Shield TV on a 48-inch HD TV, says you're almost in my living room. I don't know. I have some kind of problem in just thinking that my face is on a 48-inch TV. I got some problem with that. So nice to have you watching live. But there's always something, and I would keep that Pro 2004. You got it. I mean, you probably bought it, for a big price back then. It's still a decent radio. It's still a very decent scanner. Why not keep it and take a listen from time to time? And even if you don't listen a lot, it's just a nice little piece of equipment that you can put there on a shelf and be proud to own. And if something happens, one of the things that always I get a lot of people that say, well, I think I'm gonna sell my scanner or give it to somebody else. And one of the things that I think everybody forgets when you own a scanner is that when emergency happens, a big storm, maybe you've got snowstorm or ice storm or a big power outage, anything. We live in these societies that we just kind of almost forget that emergency can exist, especially when you live in a big city. When you live in a big city, it doesn't come to mind easily that, we might have trouble. One of the easiest, in the most recent in memory that really was something, in 1998 here, we had a big ice storm. And I mean, it showed you that even in a big city like Montreal, a major storm, a major ice storm like we had was such a big problem that suddenly, you could see that society in general can easily go wrong with some kind of major event. I mean, a lot of places in town had no power. There was a lot of ice. I mean, there are places we couldn't even go because they were banned. There were too many trees, and trees were, almost falling in the streets because of the ice. Too much ice, and they were too heavy. And that is a great example of, if you have a scanner radio, even if you don't listen in, you know what? Keep it. Keep it, because there could be an occasion or a moment where, listening to all those signals of what's happening around you can actually be useful and interesting. The last time I had a very, very interesting listen to the scanner radio, last winter. We had an ice storm last winter. If you guys remember on my shortwave channel, my 100-feet wire snapped in the backyard because of the wind and the ice. Well, that wasn't a big ice storm, but it was big enough to be a problem. and with the winds and everything, you know what? I took out my scanner and had one of the most amazing listening evenings ever, because I started listening to all sorts of frequencies, including, commercial frequencies, like, all the companies that have trucks on the road and that have, the dispatchers and everything. All of that brings you into like what's really happening around you. There's a world out there outside your window, and basically there were a lot of things happening. So you know what? Even if you don't listen very often, a scanner radio can be a very interesting experience, especially when something is happening, because there's a lot of signals to listen to. So I'm going to tell you one thing. I would keep it just to listen to signals. Well, I was lucky. Jerry says, how did you stay warm the high storm? I was lucky because here in town where I live, we didn't have power for 3 days, which is not a lot. It might be a lot for some people, but it's not a lot because we were 3 days without power. But South Shore of Montreal, they were more than a month and a half without power. It was terrible. It was the biggest ice storm, and by the way, it is, as to this point, the second biggest natural disaster in history of Canada. The ice storm of 1998. It affected parts of southern Ontario, a lot southern Quebec, a little bit the northern states like New York State, and a little bit of New Brunswick, I believe. But here we were like the center point, and we had, the ice storm was not a 1 day or a 2 day thing. We started having ice. The ice storm started like on I believe on a Monday evening, and it looked like it was something kind of very ordinary, and it lasted almost a week. For a week, every day we would have ice rain. So the ice was accumulating on the wires, and Hydro-Quebec here, the power lines, they collapsed under the weight of the ice. That was something we had never seen before, that those big power, those big transmission lines, I mean, you see these big pillars there holding the wires, and you're like, these things can't fall. Well, you know what? There was so much ice on that ice storm that there were dozens of these pillars that were holding the wires, the eye-powered wires, that just collapsed out of town. And that's why some parts were more than a month without the power, because they had to reconstruct all the power lines from one point to the other before they could give power back. And I mean, that was something, because it's one of the only times in my life where I found that, we're pretty much vulnerable when something happens. I remember the lights in the streets in Montreal. Montreal is powered by, I believe, 4 or 5 different transmission lines coming from different areas around Montreal. And basically, these come from far away. Most of the power from Quebec, southern Quebec, comes from transmission lines. They come from power stations that are 1,000 kilometers up north from here, and even more. James Bay, some is almost in what is called the Labrador, Quebec Labrador area. So a lot of our power comes from extremely far away, where there's huge rivers. And so back then, what happened is that of all the lines that were powering Montreal, only one stood still. All the other ones were broken down. And Montreal was literally powered by one transmission line at that point. And I remember they would, first of all, cut power at some parts of Montreal for a while to give power to another, because that only transmission line could not power all of the city at once. And I remember in the streets, the lights were blinking. The power was such on the edge of just a total collapse that the lights were blinking. And I remember they were asking everybody, you know what? Turn on the minimum that you need, because we're having a lot of problems in giving you power right now. And that was one of the most amazing things I've ever lived through in my life. And I remember where I worked back then, the street was a street full of trees, a little bit like here where I live. And I mean, the trees were like, the branches were touching the street because they're too heavy. And I remember going to work one morning after 4 or 5 days of ice rain, and they had blocked, the cops had put that yellow tape saying, you can't go there. You can't go there because it's too dangerous that a tree is going to fall on you or something. And I got to say that was one of the most impressive moments in my life, in how nature can really devastate an area. And that was something. To give you guys an idea, the wires had more than 100 millimeters, that's 10 centimeters diameter of ice. So 10 centimeters, for those that are in the United States, is what, 5 inches? 4 inches. So there were like 4 to 5 inches diameter of ice. And that was really heavy now on the transmission lines and the trees and everything. It was amazing. I remember, to help put the power back, there were crews from Ontario, from the Hydro Ontario. There were crews from different northern states in the United States, all the way down to, I believe, South Carolina. All of these states were sending power crews to help Hydro-Quebec rebuild its electricity supply. It was really something. And I can tell you one thing, the activity on the scanner, I was on the scanner a lot. You know, I remember I left shortwave at some point and was just on my scanner. And back then I had the Pro 2006 and my Pro 43. And boy, there was a lot of activity. And you know what? And that's also another thing that's really interesting. It's how you learn that amateur radio can really help when something goes wrong. A lot of people, you know, think that amateur radio is like a CB, and it's far from it. It's much more advanced than that. And unfortunately, there are some amateurs that don't show how this is a cool hobby. You know, a lot of them are unfortunately kind of careless with that hobby. But I'm going to tell you one thing. When that happened, they created in the South Shore, because there were no power anywhere, the police, the provincial police and the law enforcement, they couldn't communicate anymore. You know, law enforcement was their own transmitters were built on, well, 2 days at most of, you know, having no power. But after 2 days, they didn't have any more power, because nobody ever thought that there were a moment where more than 2 days was necessary to help the population. And that's where on the 2-meter band and the UHF band on the 70 centimeter band, they had special nets. And they were going on 24 hours a day, where they were actually broadcasting all the emergency messages that the cops needed to send out, all the supply messages, we need this, we need that. That even made the news back then, showing how amateur radio was something that helped everybody back then. And you know what? It was a nice and a cool thing, because it kind of gave amateur radio what it is. Amateur radio is what it's experimental, but it's also there in case of emergencies. And they really, really, really got through back then because nobody could communicate anymore. And the only ones that could were amateur radio operators. And that was cool. Yeah, there's a different one. Jerry says it's grid system. Canada power stations are tied into the U.S. power. If one goes, it's a cascade effect. Except Quebec. Quebec's own power grid does not have the same interconnections with the rest of North America. You know, when I think it's in 2004 or something like that, there was a huge power outage all the northeast of the United States, and it affected Ontario, Hydro Ontario, because all the province of Ontario was off. Quebec did not go off because Quebec's interconnections with the United States and Ontario are different than any other power grid. So if Quebec's power grid collapses, it will not affect the other ones. And at the same time, if Ontario or northern US, everything collapses, it cannot collapse the Quebec's grid. And one of the major reasons is that most of the transmission lines for the power that Hydro-Quebec sells to the northern United States is actually made in direct current, not in alternate current, or AC current. So that means you need a station that transfers that DC current into AC current. And that station, or those stations, actually protect us from anything that's happening out there. And at the same thing, it protects you from what's happening in here. And so that's why in that blackout, Quebec was not blacked out, because we didn't have that interconnection that would make the grid go away. So that was interesting. That was a very interesting one. So yeah, this was amazing. I can tell you that. And I remember back then I was with my mom, and I remember when the power went out for 3 days. Well, I remember making soup on a barbecue. You know, we had a barbecue in the back balcony outside. I'd put my coat. My mom would say, "Hey, I'm hungry." It's like, "Okay, you want to drink? You want to have soup?" It's like I'd make soup. I made soup on the barbecue. I made things on the barbecue I never thought we could make on the barbecue. But you know what? When you are stuck in that moment where everything goes wrong, you're kind of creative. So you're like, okay, well, why not? I can make soup on a barbecue. It's just a heating unit. It's like having a stove, except it's a barbecue. So I made soup on the barbecue. First time in my life, and the only time in my life. Yeah, fast load. I made soup on the barbecue. That was something. Soup on a barbecue. I never thought it was possible until then. So we had like a chicken soup. You know that the Lipton chicken soup and stuff. And we had like an old pot. So I just put the old pot on the barbecue. I filled it with water and put the Lipton soup and the chicken soup there. And I just, boop, let's go. Full power. Let's make soup. And I remember making soup. And man, for the Lipton, exactly, Lipton type. I remember making soup for, and making a lot of that. So, yeah, you know, it's something we don't think about. Jerry says you should get a kerosene eater with a few jugs of clear kerosene just in case. You know, we don't think about that. In big cities, nobody thinks about things like that. Nobody thinks. Yeah, you know, it would make a great ad for Lipton. In the big ice storm of 1998, we made barbecue Lipton soup. Why not? So, you know, when you're in a big city, you think nothing can go wrong. And I can tell you in 1998, nature told us everything can go wrong. And I can tell you. So, yeah, you know, it was not, of course, I didn't, you know, start make, you know, Fastload says, well, Lipton soup is barely just boiling water. It's almost that. But you know what? It's just like you don't start cooking really, big meals when you're in a emergency situation. Huh? You just take what's there. It's like that's gonna do for now, because I'm not gonna start making tons of food because of that. I can tell you. That was something. That was really, really something. And that's why I also say that everybody, and unfortunately, I can tell you one thing. If you look in a big city, ask your family and friends who has a radio, a battery-powered radio. I can tell you there's not a lot of people with battery-powered radios in their homes. And it's sad because you know what? I think even in a big city, a battery-powered radio is a minimum. Everybody should have one, even if they've never used it. Because you know what? When there's no power for 3 days, you're darn happy to get a battery-powered radio that gives you the news of what's happening around town, and telling you, hey, you've got no power, but it's going to come back soon, or hey, you've got no power, but it's going to take weeks. You're really happy to have a battery-operated radio, and I think that's a minimum. Even in the biggest city in the world, having a battery-powered radio is something everybody should have in their homes. I can tell you that. Like Mad Radio DXer says, portable radios have come a long way using lots of long wire, and my portables don't give overload. Yep, that's true. And we're talking to PL680, which is amazing. David says, yeah, I think it was the Rob Wagner tested the PL680 against his Gisu transceiver and found the 680 to be as sensitive as the Gisu. So that tells you a lot. That tells you a lot. Really. John Young says, nice to have a spare car battery to run radios during a blackout. Yep. I always have my lead acid batteries always fully charged, just in case. You never know. John Young says, Coleman stove and lantern here, good for emergencies and camping. Yeah, I think about that sometimes. I go to Canadian Tire here and I see those little stoves and I'm like, well, but we're always, everybody's the same. You go to Canadian Tire or you go to a hardware store and you're like, oh, these are nice little, Coleman stoves where you can do stuff. But you live in a big city, so you're like, I'm not going to use that until all hell breaks loose. And it's like, that stove would have been really nice. I can tell you that. So, really. Hey, Nick Hammondot from Romania. Nice to have you on board. And I can tell you, F4GBE, Adrien says, I try to keep some batteries for the PL680 portable scanners. Yep, that's what I also do. I have a lead acid battery here that I try to keep fully charged as much as possible. And you never know. We didn't even have steaks fast load. You know what? We were in a mode where, okay, no power and we have minimum food. So it's like, I remember making, really the bare minimum. Soup and whatever I had. I don't remember what I did on the barbecue, but I bet today I would look and it was like, oh God, I did all of that. And it was kind of complicated. It was really complicated. Just going to the grocery, getting groceries was complicated. So imagine. And there was no batteries anywhere and anything. So, I was happy to be the guy that has all the batteries and all the stuff and that can really, do what he wants. I can tell you that. Fastload says his ICR20 is always fully charged. Yeah, same here. I never leave uncharged. When I use the R20 for even 2 hours, an hour, I immediately charge it to make sure it's always full in case I need it for something. Jerry says, I got solar panels and 12-volt batteries to power up stuff for days. That's cool. And Jerry says, keep a pellet gun for rabbits and chipmunks and have a kayak too, just in case. Thanks, Celine. Yeah, we always need that kayak just in case there's something wrong. Oh, man. Benny Shortwave and Radio DX says, yep, I have a 5,000 watt gas generator and gasoline stored in my garage. Used it a few times the past 10 years comes in handy. It's sometimes that thing that you're like, well, I bought that and never used it. And the day that you need it for something, God, you're happy to have it. It's like anybody that's playing around with electronics, we all have the same habit. We keep tons of junk. I got a box full of junk here, full. But I got to tell you one thing, is that everybody tells you, that's, why are you keeping that? That's junk. Until you're fixing something or you're working on something and are like, oh, I need this. And you go into your box of junk and you're like, I got it. Yeah, it's been there for 15 years. But I got it, and I knew someday I need it. And that's why we keep all the junk. David says, I use 2 sets of NIMH batteries for all my radios that accept rechargeables. While one set is in use, the other charge, really use. System works well for me. One of the things that I often do is I almost always keep alkaline batteries. I have tons of rechargeables here, but I gotta say that I still keep a pack of Duracells just in case, especially if you'd miss out on power for a long time, you'd go through all the rechargeables and then you would need some more power. So I kind of always have alkalines just in case of emergencies. I think it's important to have such alkaline batteries around. And what's at least interesting with the alkalines is you can buy a pack of 20 Duracells, and they're going to be stored for years and still be good when you need them. So that's also the good point there. So Jerry even has a wind generator if there isn't any sun. That's cool. Yeah, gas generators are fun until you run out of gas. That is true, and especially in an emergency, finding gas can be really, really complex. So, Nick Amendot says he's got 50 batteries WA and AAA right now. Wow. So, it is kind of interesting, Nick Amendot says, I have junk as well, and I'm very happy when I find it useful. That's true. Jeffrey Kropp says, your story sounds interesting. It makes me think of my childhood. There's a lot of stuff, you never know. You never know. What could happen? Even in a car. There's a minimum everybody should have in a car. And sorry guys, I'm just making myself a little joke here. I received an email from Samsung Canada. Says, Gilles, start your holiday gift planning right now. And I'm thinking, yes, let's buy exploding holiday gifts. What do you got for Christmas? Well, I don't know. It exploded under the tree before I could give it to somebody. Sorry. Oh, man. Bad joke. I don't think Samsung will want to be on my show any day soon. Oh, man. Exploding gifts under the tree. Jerry says, I keep a Zippo hand warmer in the car and house. You can fill it up with Zippo fluid. One of the things that I saw this week, it was cute. I saw it was the Mythbusters get together, after they ended the show after so many years. And they put some things on, some people comments. And one was really interesting. And I mean, they got a nice one. One of the Mythbusters story was about how you can escape a car that fell into a river. So they had Adam go into a car that they would drop into a swimming pool, and he had to get out of the car. And of course, showing that as you need to have the car fill up with water before you can even open a door. And so they showed how, easily with that little pointy object that I don't know how it's called in English, that it's like a small hammer to break windows anyways. It's that little thing to break windows. It could save your life. And they had a nice account from a viewer that had been in the glass breaker. Yeah, typically they had a viewer that actually had an accident. She slipped out the road and the car fell into the river, and she was with her like 7 or 8 year old child. And thanks to the show, she had a glass breaker in her glove compartment because she had seen one in a hardware store on sale, and she said, well, who knows, one day. And she said, without the Mythbusters, I would not have had that in my car ever. And it happened to me, and it saved my life and the life of my child. And you look at that, and it's like, yeah, it's until something happens, or you see something happen, you sometimes don't think about anything, And it's the same, with radios and batteries and stuff like that. It's amazing. So, hey, I'm gonna get myself another beer, and I think DX the cat wants to go outside because he's just, swirling around here. So, back in a few minutes, guys. We're almost 3 hours already into the show. I can't believe it, man. I'm blabbing my way around the show, something horrible. So let's just go get the other beer, last beer for today, because tomorrow's another show for Shortwave. And we're going to have DX the cat go outside, probably, because I think that's what he wants to do. Yep. And since it's a beautiful day, DX... know we? And is outside. And I'm myself my third beer, which is always, I allow myself 3 beers. I buy a 6-pack and do 3 beers per show. So it's not too bad. So cool. And so basically, you don't think about these things. And unfortunately, today's high tech is like our high-tech lives makes it just like we just don't have that anymore. We don't understand that maybe it'd be useful if you had something in case of emergencies. And especially, people that live in rural areas, in small towns, they're still kind of in that mode where you need something in case of emergencies because things happen a little bit more there because it's easier for, power outage and stuff like that. But unfortunately, big cities, people are not in that mode anymore of, emergencies can happen. And that's sad when you think about it. So, David Barcelona says, I keep junk as well. It's really useful. Some time ago, I repurposed some cable out of a faulty laptop power supply. It's my ICOM ICR8500 external speaker cable connecting to it. My realistic DSP40. Cool. You never know when you might need something. Jeffrey Kropp has solar panels also. And F4GVE Adrien says, tomorrow starts in 4 minutes. So I guess 2 minutes now. And here it's 6 p.m. It's like early evening. And actually, I was thinking that the show's going to last like about 3 hours. And I was almost thinking of setting up my Amiga 500 in the living room tonight and playing some old games. And I know you guys want me to do a live stuff with the old games, but we need to do some retro gaming. I know. But I was thinking about that this afternoon. It's like, okay, after the show's over, I'm gonna install myself in the living room and put my Amiga 500 in the living room. I think it's gonna be cool. So really nice. Danny Shortwave says he's looking into solar, looking to start a simple solar panel set from Arbor Freight just to power a few things. Yeah, why not? So yes, I need to do. I know. I need to do retro gaming. I'll try to set up one evening and do some retro gaming. I wanted to put many of the stuff there. So yes, I have lots of beer. Of course, you need to have tons of beer when you're in an emergency. You know why? First of all, it calms you down because it's stressful. So you get a few beers and it's like, okay, let's calm down, have a few beers, and think about what we're gonna do. Of course, beer can also make you do dumb things that make you kill yourself, but it all depends on how much you drank before you're doing something, So, hey, M-Bot, Michael Bot didn't say hello, but hello, Michael Bot, nice to have you on board. And it's just I'm not set up. You know what? I almost was thinking, well, maybe I should switch the channel to my retro channel and do a live something playing games afterwards, but I don't know. I'm not set up on that channel to do that tonight because I have to change a few things in order for the YouTube live to work there, and I don't think I'm approved, so I need to approve the channel and all of that. So it'd be a little asshole to do, but I'm gonna play a few Amiga 500 games tonight. I think I'm gonna have fun with that. So yeah, that's true. Beer has calories. So I ran out of food, but I survived 20 days because I drank beer every day. So you see, I didn't lose any weight. Oh man. So Cool AM is on Saturday now. Cool. So that means that today, Cool AM, I'm having another show today for you, since you're now Saturday. Danny Shortwave Radio DX says, I'm ready to rebuild an old 386 for some old DOS games. I still have most of the old components. Sometimes I'm thinking about that. I'd like to have an old 386 or something just to play DOS games that I enjoyed and, add tons of DOS games in there. Oh man, you remember all the things you had to do back then and all the commands with the extended memory, because these things had only 640K. If you wanted to address the extended memory, it's like you needed to do a gazillion things in DOS, add the drives. Oh, well, you got a CD drive, you got to add it with this command and so on. Man, that was so painful. And I remember I had like one done on a disk, a bootable disk at some point. And what I would do is make copies of that disk to make sure that every time I have another old PC that I wanted to run games in DOS, I don't have to remember all the extended memory stuff and everything you had to just do. So you exactly. You had the autoexec.bat stuff that would just all do it in one slide. And it was like, okay, you're on. You had to make that CD available. You made the extended memory available. You had to have that command line that gives that Sound Blaster card thing so you have sound. And boy, was that so darn complicated. Man, nothing was easy. But you know what? It was one of the best times on the PCs. When you look at that, basically, is I always found it boring afterwards. It's boring in Windows. Because there's nothing to do, you're in Windows. It's like, I miss the time that you had to type stuff in order to have something to work. The config.sys, config.sys, the autoexec.bat, there's all of that. Man, that was cool. I miss that time, Oh, that's true, Fastlow. The Pentium that I have here could work for DOS games too. Maybe I should transfer. I'm not using it anymore because I've changed a few things. And you're giving me a good idea, Fastlane. I'm going to use that Pentium for DOS. But the only thing is with a Pentium, or one of those more recent machines, the biggest problem is that the DOS is running too fast. So some of the games you actually have to add some, I don't remember what's the program or the command, but you have to slow down intentionally the games because they're running too fast. The games weren't, when they were programmed back then, they were programmed for the speed of the machines from that era. But now the machines are so fast that some of the games don't play because they're just too fast. You just can't do anything. Everything's too fast. You got to slow them down, actually. Man. Elsie Orlando says you almost had to program half the game just to play those DOS games. Yeah, that is true. And it still have a turbo button. Put it off. Yeah. Oh man, I remember that turbo thing. That was funny. The turbo button. Hey, here's the turbo button. And the only thing I was thinking all the time is, why the hell do you put a turbo button? Why isn't the PC running at full speed all the time? Why the hell would somebody not want to have that PC running full speed? I don't understand it. Jerry says, I remember getting my brother's computer magazines and doing the DOS programs, typing the ones and zeros. Oh man, I remember spending evenings programming or typing in those games on the Commodore from Compute's Gazette. I had all of Compute's Gazette. I had every Compute's Gazette. And actually, I still have them in PDF now. Because sometimes I just have fun watching, looking at the PDFs of these old magazines. But I remember I was probably the most annoying kid at the bookstore. Because every month I would go, is Compute's Gazette here? Is Compute's Gazette here? And the guy would always tell me, no, it's not here yet. It's not here yet. And every month I would go there and it's like, is the Compute's Gazette available? No, it's not there yet. And sometimes it was late, so I was like every day, no Compute's Gazette, no Compute's Gazette. And I would type in all of these programs. Oh man, yeah. You missed one little number, one little detail somewhere. It's like you typed in for like 4 hours. And then you type run, and it would give you like syntax error in line 9464. And then you'd go there, but the error there was not caused by that line. It was caused by something else that you typed earlier, that when it went there in the program, then it crashed. And you had to like spend 2 more hours just looking at every little detail and every little line and every little character to make sure that it works. And that's not counting that you would spend hours and days and it would not work until you'd get the new Compute's Gazette and they would say, oh, by the way, last month on line 260, there was a misprint. And you were like, what? I spent 4 days trying to debug and understanding why it doesn't work, to learn the next month that there was a misprint in line 260 of that program last month. At some point, you were still happy because it was like, oh, well, okay, now it runs. But still, come on, a misprint? How can you misprint? Oh, you know what? The other thing that was annoying is I remember Compute's Gazette had this machine language program entry where it was only numbers. And you'd enter numbers. And at the end, that program had a checksum, which was a number from 0 to 255. And I remember when typing and you made a mistake, but by a chance, you had that little moment where the misprint, the error that you caused, gave the same checksum at the end. So it said, yeah, it's okay. But it was not. Because what you just typed gave the same damn Eric, same damn correction at the end, the same number. So it said it was okay, but it was not in reality. Oh man, that was something. Oh, I gotta say. I'm sounding like it was bad, but actually, you know what? Some of the greatest times in my life. I gotta say, that was some of the best times in my life. I gotta say, man, I loved playing with those machines. I still do today. I find a PC boring today. It's not like the good old days. You had to figure it out. You had to connect the stuff together. Today it's like, okay, USB. Okay, the driver's there. Wow, my camera's working. Wow, thank you. It's cool. It's working. Yeah, I understand for, everybody it's cool because, it just works. But, back then it was like, okay, I just put that new sound card. Okay, now I need to do this. And okay, type this. Okay, I got to change that in DOS. Okay, my new 33K modem. Okay, now I got to change the sequence of this. Man, that was fun. I found that so fun. That was something that was cool. Danny Shortwave says, 8-bit guy. Yeah, I saw that. 8-bit guy on YouTube has nice tutorials on setting up a 386 for retro games. True. That is true. Danny Shortwave Radio DX says Byte Magazine, and I believe Commodore User Magazine. Yes, there was Commodore User. I got into programming because of Commodore 64 computer. Assembly language. Wow. I remember I was a big fan of Compute's Gazette, Compute, and Ahoy. These were the three magazines I'd buy every month. Compute's Gazette was Commodore only. Ahoy was also Commodore only. Compute was Commodore, IBM PC, and Amiga at some point. Of course, I remember Wolfenstein 3D and everything. Wow, Wolfenstein 3D, that was cool. I played Wolfenstein 3D, I played a lot. Of course, that was cool. That was cool at the time. And David says, caught the tail end of the vintage computer era. There's a photo somewhere of a very young me tinkering with my father's Atari with a monochrome monitor. Had to use our Sony Trinitron to enjoy the colors. Man, I was on the Commodore 64 for a long time on a black and white TV because that was the only TV available for me to have a computer on all the time. And boy, I was so happy when my parents changed the TV in the living room for a bigger TV, and now I was a proud owner of a Commodore 64 on a 20-inch color TV, and I really was happy. Finally, color. Oh man. Well, I got tons of floppies if you guys want to see. Here. You guys want to see floppies? There it goes. Look at that, guys. Tons of floppies here. These are all my Amiga and Atari stuff. I got about, I'd say 500 floppies just here in the bottom. And half of them is for Atari. No, about a quarter is for Atari. And the rest is for Amiga, 3.5-inch discs. And these are now pretty good. It's important for me to keep them because nobody makes floppies anymore. If I want to buy floppies, there's a place online that sells floppies. They are used floppies that they just recycled because nobody makes floppies anymore. So no, I don't have 5.25-inch anymore. I had one somewhere. I had kept one 5.25-inch, but and I remember the 5.25-inch I had was with a school project when I was in high school. But I think either it's somewhere and I don't know where, or maybe I threw it out at some point. But I don't have 5.25-inch anymore. So, that's something. Hey, Drago, nice to have you on board. Always nice to have you here. Pretty cool. And, Jerry, the voice synthesizer. I actually had, and I still have here, there's little drawers up there. And I still have a Ahoy project where we had a voice synthesizer programmed from a chip, which was an SPO256 synthesizer chip. And I remember I was so happy. I went to Radio Shack, bought that chip, and I think it was like $40 at the time, which is a lot of money. And I built that little circuit board, and then I had programmed in the Commodore 64, and I would make that chip talk. That was one of the coolest things in the world. I built that little circuit, and I was so happy. And everybody would laugh at me because it had pronunciation problems. You know, voice synthesizer in 1986 or 85 was not great. And everybody would laugh at me. And I just, personally found it so cool that I had a voice synthesizer in that little chip there. Jerry says about a Raspberry Pi Zero and NES game, a cartridge game emulator player preloaded with 6,000 games. Cool. Drago says he remembers the Commodore magazine. Fastload at Coco Fest magazine was the TRS-80 color computer. Wow. Jerry says I got a few 5 1/4 inch floppies. Aha. Drago still has his 5 1/4 inch. Still have GEOS. Wow, GEOS. I remember having GEOS. That actually, except for the fact that it was a little slow because of the loading, the GEOS graphic user interface for Commodore was actually very, very nice and pretty advanced for what it was. I gotta say, I remember having GEOS. I remember buying it. I bought GEOS, I think it was like $80, $70 in 1989 or something. And I just found it so cool because my Commodore computer had a Mac interface, basically. It had Windows and it had, all sorts of really cool stuff that you could do. I remember that was cool. One of the things that everybody was finding cool when I was young is I had a printer. I had a Commodore 1525 dot matrix printer. And boy, everybody that came home, every time somebody came home, my dad would say, oh, print something, show them how cool it is you can print. Nobody had a printer back in 1985. Nobody had a printer in 1985, and I had one. And I remember it was impossible to get those ribbons so that I can actually print. So I would go to a store, buy ink, and slowly I would move the ribbon slowly and ink the ribbon by moving it around. And after I did, like 4 or 5 turns of inking, I'd be okay for like, 200 pages. I could print for 200 more pages. Until one day, the ribbon worn out because I was using it all the time. So when the ribbon worn out, I was like, oh darn, the ribbon broke. And there was no way I could get any ribbon for a Commodore printer after that. And nobody had that in stock. That was something. But that was something. Yeah, that's true. The GEOS was Windows before Windows. Microsoft did not invent anything. Neither did Apple. Apple's graphic user interface was actually a graphic user interface stolen from somebody else. So nobody, there was the inventors of these graphical user interface are not known today, really. But even the Apple interface was stolen from somebody else. And GEOS was cool. That was cool. Wow, the Q-Link disc. You still have Q-Link discs. Wow. Fastload at Gem desktop. Oh man. Drago used to own the Commodore MPS 1250 printer. Oh man. Drago says, I remember ribbon cartridges for printers. I remember I had on my first PC a Epson dot matrix printer, and the print head came so hot that the printer would stop. The printer would stop because it was too hot, and I had to wait for the print head to cool down before it continued printing. And I remember I was mad as hell because I had bought a printer back then to print, there were things I wanted to print that were like 100 pages. And of course, you guys remember the paper with the little holes on the sides that you had to remove because, it was tractor fed. So you had to buy the paper with little holes. It's not like today's printers that just take regular paper. And you had to just, put that paper inside. And I remember, paper would go out, go out, go out. And then some hell of a moment, after like 50 pages, it just stops. Because the print head would be too warm. And it was so warm, I remember touching it with my fingers. You could actually burn yourself seriously with that thing. And I was like, what the hell? And then after it cooled down, it would start printing again. Oh man, what a printer. I remember that. Fastlow says FX80 Epson. It was not an FX80 in my case. I remember it was another number, but probably from, the same type of printer with the same print head that just goes too hot and has to stop all the time. Man, ribbon cartridge printers. Wow. I remember my first ever inkjet printer that I paid a humongous price. And the first time that I printed a color photograph, and I was like, wow, that is cool. Oh man, Q-Link. Oh God. Oh God. Yeah, Xerox was the maker of the graphic user interface. That's true. Xerox. Yes, GEOS was kind of ahead of its time. That is true. It's sad because the Commodore was not taking on as a business machine. Because I gotta say, GEOS was one of the most advanced graphic user interface of its time. And it was actually amazing how they were able to make that work in a Commodore 64 that basically was at that point at least 6 or 7 years old. And I mean, you know what? The Commodore 64 showed that when you actually take the time to program very efficiently, you can have a machine do a hell of a lot of things with not that much power. Today, the biggest problem that I always find today with PCs is that because of the huge resource of our machines, because the machines now are so powerful, there's a lot of waste in the programming. Because they're like, oh, who cares? Everybody's got 4 or 8 gigs of RAM, and everybody's got, those Core i5 or i7 machines, and basically there's waste because the programming isn't efficient. And in the times of those 8-bit machines, programming was very efficient because they were so underpowered. These machines were not powerful. And they had to find in really interesting ways to be efficient in the code to have that machine doing what it never was thought of that it could do. I'm sure the Commodore 64 did things that nobody ever guessed that it could. Because somebody somewhere said, you know what, I can have that machine do this. But we just have to change the way we code so it's as efficient as possible. And that, same thing for the first PCs, Same thing. Cool AM had its first PC in XT8088. Yeah, my first PC was an XT also. I remember having an XT with a, I believe, 20 megabyte hard drive. And it was given to me by my best friend that had bought himself a new machine back then. These were like $4,000, man. These were so expensive. Mad Radio DXer had a color dot matrix printer for my Commodore Amiga. I used to go crazy printing stuff. Wow. Oh man. And those drives were big. I mean, the 20 megabit hard drive I had was like this big at least, this thick, and it was a big thing. It was a really big thing. Yep, Apple stole the graphical user interface from Xerox. Yep, man, that was something. Cool AM started with MS-DOS 3.2. Wow. I remember when I installed, for a long time was DOS and DOS and DOS, but I remember when I installed Windows 3.1 for the first time. God, I was like amazing. And I remember there was a Canadian artist at some point that made a CD, a music CD, that had, what were they calling them? At some point, some artists in the 90s were making CDs with, a part of the CD was like computer stuff. And I remember buying Sarah McLachlan CD, and it had a video of one of its songs, had a video that you could play on Windows 3.1. Wow. That was something. Oh man. That was something. Fast load Canon BJ200. Oh man. My first inkjet was a Lexmark. And I got to tell you the story of that Lexmark, guys. My first inkjet printer was a Lexmark. And it was a dreadfully cheap printer. One of the printers that you'd say, don't buy this because that's crap. And two things happened with the Lexmark. When I bought the Lexmark, about 3 months later, the Lexmark factory that made the cartridges caught on fire. And nowhere there was any inkjet cartridges for the Lexmark. And that's the first time in my life that I learned that you can do a hole in the cartridge. And, the cartridge had 3 colors. So I had to punch 3 holes in the cartridge and put the correct color in each one. And I remember my first experience being really bad because without noticing, I had contaminated the yellow with a little bit of blue. Barely. But you know what? All the colors were wrong now. So I took other cartridges that I had, and that's when I started filling inkjet printers cartridge. And the funniest thing is that when I started my tech business, I needed to print about 1,000 ads. And I didn't want to go to somewhere, because I didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't want to go somewhere and pay for that. I thought, I got a printer. It's slow, but you know what? I'm going to wait, and I'm going to print out 1,000 ads. And I'll fill up the cartridges so it doesn't cost a lot of money. I printed about 200 ads, and at some point the printer started making smoke, and I could see that on the paper side, something became like bright white colored, and it was like somebody was like, using a flashlight from inside the printer. So when I saw that, I understood, okay, something's seriously going wrong there, and it's like everything's going to hell. And then there was like tons of smoke coming out of it, and it was like, okay, I got 200 ads, and the printer's now gone. That printer was, first of all, very cheap. It didn't have what it takes to print 1,000 ads. So that's my Lexmark printer story. Oh boy, I can tell you that. Oh man. Yeah, printer catching fire. That was exactly what was happening. I was like, what the hell's happening there? I remember seeing the paper bright white, like somebody was shining a light in there. And it was like, oh God, something is going wrong. Seriously wrong in the printer. Oh man. Hey Carol, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. And so, hey, no problem, Carol. So basically, what happened is that Lexmark, I threw it out, and I used almost all the money I had left, and I bought an HP printer. And I got to show you guys. Okay, when I got my Lexmark and it burned out, we're in 1999. In 2000, about a month later, because I passed the 200 ads, but I needed more ads, and I'm going to show you guys. I still have it, and it still works. And it even has Windows 10 drivers, which is out of this world. I bought a HP printer. So look at that, guys. I'm going to show you my desk. Don't look at all the... look at that. Okay, you see the two printers there? One is an Epson on the right side. The one on the left side is a DeskJet 952C. That thing printed at least 250,000 ads for me. And it still works like brand new. It's the best printer I've ever owned and ever seen in my life. That was amazing. And that is an amazing printer. And I gotta say, it still works, and I'm still amazed at it. I can tell you that. Yeah, spontaneous combustion. That was pretty much what happened with the Lexmark printer. I can tell you that. And yes, Lexmark printers are junk. They were junk. You know, the only reason why I bought the Lexmark back then, it was the cheapest printers of all, and I didn't have a lot of money, so it was like, okay, it's no printers or a cheap printer. And that's what happened. But man, oh man, yes, I do remember. Cool AM says, remember those cheaper CPUs from Cyrix? I never bought that. I always had Intel. Always. Every time I bought a PC was an Intel. When that happened, when the Cyrix CPUs were there, I remember I was with a friend of mine, and we both went to a computer store and we bought a PC. And I remember back then the PC was a Pentium. I had a Pentium 166. And some of the first Pentiums, basically. A Pentium 166. And I remember I was with my friend, and he wanted the same PC that I had. But the guy told him, okay, you got the Cyrix, which is a 166. It's the same thing as the Pentium, which was like $200 less expensive. And I remember the guy, my friend said, oh yeah, I'm going to take that. And then the salesman came back at me and said, you want to have the Cyrix too? And I said, because he looked at me and said, it's 200 less. And I said, no, I want to have the Pentium. I want the Pentium 166 in my machine. I don't want to have a Cyrix one. So we had exactly the same machine, except for I had a Pentium, a real Intel Pentium 166. He had the Cyrix 166 that was supposed to go faster than mine. Well, I can tell you one thing, is that he had so many bugs and so many trouble with his machine that I never had. We would run the same software and he'd have errors everywhere. I remember installing Windows on mine, Windows 95, I believe at first. And he installed Windows 95. We had the same damn disk. And you know what? I installed flawlessly, no problem. He installed. There were errors everywhere, blue screens, everything was crashing all the time. It was the worst thing. And the only difference was that he had a Cyrix and I had the real thing, the real Intel. And that's when he learned, okay, wrong idea. I should never have bought the Cyrix thing. And I remember telling him that's why I did not want to have a Cyrix. I wanted to have the real thing. I wanted to have the real thing. So, you know, I built 2 or 3 computers from scratch. My last PC that I built from scratch was the Pentium 4 PC that I owned for gaming. The last PC that I've ever had for gaming was a Pentium 4, and I had built that one from scratch. I had bought everything. I wanted to have specific, an Asus motherboard. I remember back then it was the big thing. I wanted to have the Matrix graphics adapter, if I remember well. That I changed eventually. It changed for NVIDIA and all of that. I was going through the different cards, and I had built that machine. That was the I built 3, and that was the last one that I built like 15 years ago, and that was a gaming machine. I had built it for gaming. It had cost me more than if I had bought something already made up. But boy, I had a lot of fun building that. And, if you want to have what you want in your PC, of course, it's better to build it yourself because you know what you have and you know what you want. And, you've built it yourself, so you know how it's been made. You know what you've done in it. When you buy it, you don't know how they did it. Sometimes maybe they did it too fast or something. But that's the last time. Now, I just have laptops. You can't build your own laptop, unfortunately. So, I don't remember if Cyrix had MMX. I remember there was MMX. I remember that when you needed MMX, that little thing. It's like, well, you need a CPU with MMX. It was like, what? So I don't remember, but I remember Cyrix had a lot of troubles, and that's why they don't exist pretty much. They were having tons of troubles with their CPUs. They were overheating. There was tons of problems. Really wasn't the best, can tell you that. Oh man. So hey Bob Bobson, nice to have you on board. And yes, I'm famous. I'm a famous guy. So hello from hello there. And are you from the UK? Nice to have you. Nika Amendot says Age of Empires needed MMX. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I remember I got so many. You know what was cool, and a gamer is like that. I remember buying like a graphics card every 6 months. 6 months later it was like, oh cool, that better graphics card is now at the price that I can pay. I'm going to take out my NVIDIA and put that ATI card in it. And it would be like, okay, going to different cards all the time. Had a lot of fun with that. And also, benchmarking. It was always fun to benchmark. It's like, okay, I changed the card. Now we're going to benchmark 3D graphics and stuff. And there's something, there's something cool. I've always found it so cool to just play a game or play computer graphic demos and understanding that the graphics adapter is doing all of this work and all of these pixels and stuff. And it's something I always found fascinating and super interesting. Yeah, 3D printers looks really cool. Maybe someday they're getting really affordable here. What's probably the biggest problem is the stuff that you need to have it working. But 3D printers, that looks cool. That looks really cool. Oh, yeah, Bob Hobson says he had a Commodore 64 and it took 45 minutes to load each games. Yeah, the games were kind of long to load. I remember I was so happy when Computer Gazette magazine came up with something called Fast Load. Or no, what was it? Fast Load is that cartridge from Epix I remember, and that's why Fastload is called Fastload in the chat room. That was the Epix cartridge to increase the speed of the disk drive. But Compute's Gazette magazine had actually done a software that you would program that would basically do the same thing. So what you do is you'd load that software and then you'd save a program and then load a program from disk, and it would like speed it up from like 15, 20 times. And something that took 10 minutes to load would take a minute and a half. I remember I was so happy back then. That was so. Of course, I played James Bond, the Frog version of 007. Yes, I did. Of course, I even have it on Amiga. I think I have it on my Amiga 500. James Bond. I got it. And so pretty cool. These are good old days. Yep. Fastload, the Epix cartridge, Fastload. That was something, man. Well, that was something. In the 90s, buying a PC, that's true. In the 90s, buying a PC, I mean, every 2 years, your PC was outdated. You needed to have something new. It's kind of slowed down now. You can actually have a PC for 6 or 7 years, and not for gaming. For gaming, I think if you're a gamer, you still have that very fast pace, move on to other technology. But today, most people have a PC and will use it for 6, 7 years before they even think about changing it. So it's a little different today. It's not like it was, but they were dreadfully expensive. I remember when I built my Pentium 4, it cost me about $1,800, close to $2,000 to build my Pentium 4 back then, which would be probably not as expensive today, but still, you know what? A good gaming PC with the good parts, it's still like $1,000 or more. You can still have easily a $2,000 PC today if you want to really have it perform. I can tell you that. Yeah, I don't know if it's because of, like Fastload says, didn't have the problem with the TRS-80. It had a real parallel disk drive controller. I don't know. It's probably because it just was inexpensive on the Commodore. But boy, that disk drive was so slow back then. Yep, Pentium 4. I was about close to $2,000 I'd spent on that machine. And Outrun, yeah. Oh, you guys are gonna give me. Oh, I want to play Outrun. Outrun on the Commodore 64 was so cool. Oh man, I played Outrun so much. I remember having a lot of fun because you know what? In Outrun on Commodore 64, you could just change the song that was playing on the car's radio. Boy, I had a lot of fun. Every time I'd do a race, I'd change the car sound. And with the F keys, you could change the song that was playing on the radio. Oh man, that was cool. Oh man, that was cool. The Amsterdam Red Light District game. That sound, that name tells there's something that it tells me, but I don't know. Carol says my computer's already outdated and I built it a year ago. Yeah. You know, Outrun. Oh man. Outrun, that is something. Do you guys, any of you guys played the Atari game Decathlon? When you had that 1,500 meter race that you had to like swipe the joystick like hell for 10 minutes? I remember playing with a friend of mine. And I mean, we would play together, and after that 1,500 meter race, oh boy, we would be like totally dead, and our arm would like just be so tired. Man, I remember Decathlon. That was something. One of the games that I enjoyed from Epix was Winter Games or the Summer Games series. Those were pretty cool and pretty well done for sports games. Oh man, oh yeah, you'd break the joystick playing Decathlon. You know, I think I scrapped at least a dozen joysticks because I would play Decathlon too much. Oh boy, and a friend of mine had a Commodore 64 and a Gemini console. The Gemini console was actually a cheap version of the Atari 2600. And it had really the best joysticks to play Decathlon. It was just the right size. Man, I remember we played Decathlon one afternoon and we broke both of his joysticks because it was like just too incredible. But yeah, it was good on exercise. Actually, it was one of the only games at the time that you play the game and you're actually having exercise at the same time. Oh man. Well, you know what, Jerry? I don't think that they slowed down on the upgrades because of anything. Because PC makers want to sell the maximum amount of computers. I think it's just because what we are doing with the technology today. You know what? The internet doesn't require that big or that powerful of a computer. I mean, you could still go on the internet with a Pentium 4 if you want. So what the internet is about and what people do with their PCs doesn't require a lot of power. Where PCs get outdated real fast is, of course, playing games. A gamer will find that his PC after a year and a half is already kind of outdated, you know. It all depends on what you do. This basically. Jay says, yeah, I played Decathlon. You were exhausted when I went through a lot of joystick. Had to disassemble and use hot glue the plastic components to last a few more months. Oh, yeah, man, that was something. That was something. So, no, I'm from Montreal, Canada. Oh, California Games. I love that game. California Games, that skating, you know, you had skating, you had surfing. I love to go surfing. What was that? Frisbee, all of these. That was cool. California Games. The first ever game that I played, adventure game, Maniac Mansion. Maniac Mansion was such a cool game. And then I played Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders. I remember playing text graphics games where you would just like go east, go north, open door. Oh man, that was something. That was something also. I can tell you that. Oh really? Cool AM says Decathlon is an online sports game that can be played at plonga.com. Oh man. Ay ay ay. David says, I used to hook up the Mega Drive to the VCR and record entire 4-hour sessions on VHS tape. Years later, I did the same with the PS2. Oh, man. Funny. That is funny. You know, processors are so powerful even on our smartphones today. It's just amazing. A friend of mine did that fast load, rigged the relay on the joystick to cheat, but the problem is he had not done it right. So when he showed me the example on his Commodore, the relay was actually kind of sending some voltage in the joystick port. So at some point, while he was showing me how it works, the computer froze, and when we started up again, the cursor would move on its own on the screen without doing anything. He had blown the chip that was basically the same chip for the keyboard port and for the joystick ports, and he had to have it fixed. I remember I was like, did you kind of do this correctly and shield it correctly? Because I think you've just messed up your one of the chips in the Commodore here. Oh, man. This reminds me so much of the good old days. It was so cool. Oh, yeah. I had the first Pong, the first game I've ever had. Hey, have a great evening, Stephen Mail. Was always nice to have you on board. Tomorrow, 2000 hours, another one. I had the first video game I've ever had was the Pong game with the two knobs. I'd say in 1981 or something. And I remember having the gun that you could shoot back then. And man, yes, that's why I need to do a retro hangout. I know. It's just so much fun. So brings back so many memories. So many memories. Oh man. Yep, you can buy an SD card reader for the Commodore 64, for the Amiga 500, and for the Atari ST. And you just load the image files of all the games, and it works. So it's pretty cool. Fastload still has a ColecoVision here. A friend of mine had the ColecoVision also. Isn't that the one with the two tape drives in it? ColecoVision? What's the one? I'm trying to remember. My friend had a Coleco computer. It had two tape drives, which were amazing because when you would search for a game, they would rewind on their own and everything. Was that the ColecoVision? You would put tapes in the drives. I think it's that. What was that? I'm trying to remember what that was. Oh, man. I have tons of emulators on the PC that, you can... Oh, the Atom computer. Danny Shortwave, thanks. Yes, the Atom computer. That was it. Oh, man. Yeah, the ColecoVision was a console. The Atom computer. That was the thing. With the two tape drives. Oh, man. That was something also to... Oh, man. What an amazing time. Wow. On Twitter, Phil Pierce has sent me a picture. He still has his Fastload cartridge, and he's got an actual picture of it on Twitter. This is cool. Oh, man. Wow. Phil Pierce, thanks for being here. Nice to have you on board. We've gone from radio to old consoles and just having fun. Yeah, the Atom computer. Oh, man. I remember my friend having the Atom computer and not having any software at all, except the basic ones. Couldn't find any games, anything, anywhere. And I remember spending 2 days at his home and using only the manual. I remember I programmed a computer game for him, which was like something like things were dropping from the sky, and you had to shoot them up before they reached the ground. I remember doing a game like that I had programmed completely out of the Atom's Basic, using the manual, and it was the only game he had. He played that game that I actually had programmed. Oh, man. Wow. Yeah, I saw it. Really cool, Sandman X. This is something. This is really cool. The Fastload cartridge directly there. Wow. Yep, it had two tape drives, and what was funny is when you search for a game, the tapes were regular 4-track tapes. And you could have several programs on the tapes, and you didn't have to queue up the tape to the program you wanted. You just asked for the program you wanted, and they would rewind on its own and stop at specific places and check out, and then rewind until it would find where the game was, and then it would load. It was a very unique and unusual system. That was really, really, really something. Yeah, the Commodore VIC-20 I had used a dataset. I had a dataset where I would just put a 4-track tape and record all my software, my programs on it. Oh man, that was something. That was something. That was really, really something. Oh boy. So, hey guys, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of batteries for the wireless mic because it's almost 4 hours, and which is unusually long for my wireless mics. So I'm probably going to lose power any minutes now. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and it was really cool, the everything, and even the talking about, retro gaming. And you guys just, gave me the idea. I'm going to set up my Amiga 500 right now in the living room. And you know what? I usually take only 3 beers, but I think I'm going to set up my Amiga 500 in the living room, and I'm going to take a 4th beer, and I'm going to play some Amiga 500 games. All of this talking was just gave me the idea of I'm going to set up. So, hey, thanks everyone. Remember that tomorrow, 2000 hours UT, shortwave show. We're going to talk about radio as much as possible. Try not to go too much into retro gaming again. Have you guys noticed every time we go into retro gaming, we just spend so much time talking about that. And yeah, but you know what, Carol? If I had, I feel like going into the retro channel and just, putting the camera live while I'm setting up the Amiga 500 and playing, but not tonight, okay? But I promise I'm going to do it soon. I need to do it soon. The only reason I'm not doing one is because of lack of time. I have too many things that I do, and it just goes. Here it goes. It's possible. No more sound. 1, 2. So, take care, everyone. It was nice to have you on board.